Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back. We've got some big news out of the Supreme Court today that we're going to unpack together. We've got a 9-0 decision that came down as it relates to immigration judges, of course, but not only immigration judges. It's a broader perspective from SCOTUS asking and answering the question, can these judges just kind of do whatever the hell they want? And the answer is no, you can't. There are legal principles that say you have to color within the lines. And of course, we've seen many problems about that from other judges throughout America. Then that's the good news. Then we've got another one that's a little troubling. We had Florida suing California and Washington for handing out CDL licenses to people who then, hang U-turns in the middle of the highway that caused the deaths of Americans just driving home, driving to a vacation. And we're asking, what's the remedy? What can we do if California and Washington, the state, are handing out licenses willy-nilly? Is there any recourse? Can anybody do anything about it since our Congress will not? Well, the Supreme Court also issued a ruling on that, and we've got a fiery dissent from Justice Clarence Thomas and Judge Alito, who are not happy with how the decision came down. Then we'll talk about an ICE facility attack, which apparently is still ongoing. The insurgents and the insurrectionists are back, and we've got some wild footage of themselves being barricaded at the front entrance and literally checking the vans that are coming in and out of the facility to see whether they have any contraband illegal aliens in there that they're trying to detain. And so lots of news today, and then we'll check in on the elections. A big one out there in Texas, Paxton versus Cornyn, and it's looking like it's going to be a no-brainer. Looks like Paxton is going to just come ice skating in there, although it is Texas. There's not a lot of that. And we'll see if we have any updates. And of course, what you have to say about all of this and more. We hope that your long weekend was amazing and you had a blessed Memorial Day. Very glad that you're here and with us. Thank you for subscribing, liking the video, and all the things. We've got business to attend to as soon as we confirm that the tubes are working and that we're coming in loud and clear all across the fruited plains of the interwebs. And it looks like we are. That's tremendous news. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Victory out of the Supreme Court, a 9-0 decision per curiam, the decision of the court, now coming down as it relates to the powers of lower court judges. Can they do whatever the heck they want, make rulings on issues that are not before them, or can they not? And this one is curious because it also relates to immigration. And you can see we've got a lawsuit here that was brought by the National Association of Immigration Judges. They were very unhappy with a new executive order, policy order rather, a change in how the administration governs itself over at the Executive Office for Immigration Review. And we'll go through the decision. It's not a too long one, but we also have a concurrence from our friend Justice Clarence Thomas and, of course, Amy Coney Barrett that is following it up, going into the merits of exactly what's happening here. Now, the DOJ is celebrating this one. Todd Blanche posted this. He said, DOJ Supreme Court win, baby. The Supreme Court yet again reversed the Fourth Circuit again, this time with a unanimous 9-0 decision. As the DOJ argued in this matter, the Fourth Circuit was wrong to try to rewrite a law, a statute, about the process for resolving government employee complaints. If you work for the government, in this case, we're talking about immigration judges, can you just sue? If you don't like how the administrative agencies are governing your complaints, can you just go to the court and say, I don't like that? Congress set up specific tracks and specific rules so that you can funnel your complaints to the appropriate body and they can handle them administratively. We don't want to clog our courts with every upset government employee. In this case, it's immigration judges. They have to follow the right path. Now, this unanimous result, writes Blanche, reflects a key principle that we fight for. Judges should be judges, resolving the case before them, and they should never try to seize Congress's role. In other words, to say that we think that Congress actually meant this. And so we're, as an Article 3 court, a federal judge going to bypass these agencies that have already been set up? And this has been a big problem all over the place. How many lawsuits have we covered here that have been filed under the APA, the Administrative Procedures Act? We don't like the outcome. Trump fires somebody. Trump issues an executive order. He says, I run the executive branch. I'm the president. Under Article 2, I get to decide how this works. And they just go into the judges, and the judges just say, well, actually, we're the president now, and we're going to make a decision on how this whole thing gets governed. So this opinion sends a clear message. Lower courts must accept that the law is the law, no matter the political controversies of the day. And as the Supreme Court rightly emphasized, this is how it went down. And it's a good one. They have some very nice quotes in here. Coming out fresh out of the oven today, per curiam, meaning it's a decision of the court. And once again, these are immigration judges at the National Association of Immigration Judges. They sound like they're very happy with themselves. They form a nice association. And so something changed in the Executive Office for Immigration Review, which is where the judges ultimately live. But an entity outside of the EOIR sued because they didn't like the policy change. And they went into a federal court. They didn't go in through the proper mechanisms in Article 2 guidance as Congress has articulated. And here's what went down. Now, after the Executive Office for Immigration Review adopted a new policy that now regulates immigration judges' work-related speech, an association of these judges, the National Association, challenged the policy in a federal district court. Okay, so they don't like what happened. It's like your boss changes policies. Now we're going to be here at 8:30. Okay, not 9 o'clock, 8:30. And if you don't clear your lunch out of the fridge, it's going into the dumpster immediately. You say, I don't like that. So you go sue. That's what they did. Now, the district court in the Article 3 land, they held that the respondent's challenge must proceed. So the immigration judges, they have to go through the administrative review scheme established by the Civil Service Reform Act. Okay, so Congress then passes an act, statutes that say, if you have something to complain about, this is how you do it. Here are the rules. But then the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals vacated that correct lower decision and remanded based on an issue that the parties didn't even raise. Okay, so the Fourth Circuit inherits the case. They say, well, we think there's a bigger problem. And so they address something that nobody even complained about. That decision violated the principle of party presentation, which we're going to learn a lot more about today. And therefore, we reverse. Fourth Circuit blown out. Here's some more background. The Executive Office for Immigration Review, these are the Article 2 judges that handle immigration proceedings. Just like if you get a DUI, you get charged in a criminal court, and you also go to the MVD or to the DMV. You've got these administrative judges that handle administrative matters. Immigration is an administrative situation in Article 2 courts in the EOIR. They govern immigration courts. Now, in October 2021, we saw a big change. Now, it implemented a rule requiring immigration judges, and this is under Biden, to obtain supervisory approval for public speeches that are relating to their duties. Now, the policy was meant to ensure that employee speech, which may be seen as bearing the imprimatur of the office, is consistent with official positions. Now, respondent challenged the policy in Virginia. They asserted that violations of their judges, their First Amendment and their Fifth Amendment rights, my free speech and my due process. So this court has held that under the Civil Service Reform Act of 1978, Congress intended federal employees, if you want to complain about something, you have to go through a particular mechanism to do that. You have to go to the MSPB, lots of acronyms today. And the special counsel, you don't just get to go and complain to a federal district court. Okay, there's a mechanism. You're unhappy with your situation, go talk to the superior. In this case, it's the MSPB. Now, respondent thus accepted that the CSRA, the Civil Service Reform Act, channels judicial review of challenges to covered employment actions to the MSPB. They said, okay, we know how that works. Opposition to the motion to dismiss is where that was cited. They said that only that its members' constitutional claims were not the kind of work-related claims that Congress intended to steer out of the court. So they say, look, yes, we know we have to go to the MSPB, but this is a free speech thing. And so that's not really what this is for. This is about bad parking, or this is about vacation days, or this is about something internally to our work product. We, these judges were saying, are wanting to give speeches and write books and do all of this other stuff as it relates to our official duties. And so this is a free speech and a due process problem. So the district court dismissed their claims. They said, no, it isn't. The court, like the respondent, said, yeah, Congress intended to preclude the courts over covered actions brought by federal employees. And this happens all the time now. They're exploiting this. If you're an illegal alien and you don't like the EOIR decision, you don't like the immigration court's decision, you just go over and sue in Article 3 and you say, oh, equal protection, oh, due process, oh, free speech, whatever, like Khalil or like Abrego. And they exit, even though they're not employees, it's the same thing. They don't like the final ruling from the judges, they go out. So, and it also held that respondents' claims are actually covered. It's not a free speech. It's not a due process thing. You've agreed to come be employed here, and you're accepting and acquiescing to these terms. So then they appealed. They took it up to the Fourth Circuit. Now, they did not dispute that the CSRA, the Civil Service Reform Act, provides the exclusive avenue for review of certain employment-related claims. They said, yeah, Congress is literally, they wrote it into the rules. It precludes district courts from having jurisdiction over these claims. Otherwise, what's the point? Any complaint, you would just take it to the Article 3 courts. Congress wanted to bypass that, remove that option so that you went through the proper mechanisms. Now, it again argued only, not making additional arguments, that its specific claims were not covered under the channeling scheme because they want to go and make free speech, arguments or give speeches or whatever. So then the Fourth Circuit vacated that and remanded it back down. The Supreme Court writes, now, like the lower level court, the district court, it also held that respondents' claims were in fact covered. So then why did they reverse it at the Fourth Circuit? If, okay, we have to go through this avenue and the thing that we're complaining about is covered by the law, then what's the problem? Well, here it is. And the court then recognized our precedent as well, that Congress designed this to divest the Article 3 courts of jurisdiction to review these types of claims. So the Fourth Circuit says, yeah, you can't hear these. But nonetheless, it held that the factual circumstances around this had, quote, called into question whether the CSRA was functioning as Congress intended. And how many times have we seen this? Judges and courts saying, well, actually, it's Trump changed something and now it's not the same. And so now we have a lack of confidence in this entity. So now we as the court have to go in and change something in order to right the wrongs, balance the equities. Specifically, the court believed that legal challenges to the tenure protection afforded to MSBP members and the special counsel and the MSBP's lack of a quorum, right? So Trump's firing everybody, saying a lot of these boards are illegal anyways, may require, or in other words, not necessarily that they're illegal, but that Trump as the executive, the president, has the authority to fire people and replace them with people who he sees fit. Now, the Congress has said, well, actually, you can only fire people after this amount of time, and you have to go through this board, and you have to do all the, in other words, shackling the executive branch. So Trump came in and he said, no, that's not how that works at all. That is unconstitutional. The president runs the executive branch, not Congress. Congress can remove money. They have the power of the purse. They have a lot of other things, but they don't get to limit the core Article 2 powers of the presidency. So Trump comes in, and he starts changing some things, and they say, well, since he's changing things, now we have concerns that the board is even valid anymore. And since we don't like or know whether it is valid, we have to have, quote, a new examination of congressional intent from the courts. Well, they're not Congress. If Congress wants to make their intent known, they're Congress. They can pass something to channel covered claims out of district court. So the court then the Fourth Circuit remanded for fact-finding into the current operation of the MSBP. So again, just like Boasberg was the judge in D.C. who ordered those airplanes to be turned around and bring in those gangbangers, Tren de Aragua and the MS-13 gangbangers back into the country because I'm the president now. Same thing. And just like they wanted to haul Kristi Noman, tell me about your ICE operation so I can see if you're in compliance. Basically running oversight over the executive branch, which is usurping Article 2 powers away from them. The courts are not above the executive branch, but they remanded it. Then the Court of Appeals denied a rehearing en banc, said, will you hear this again because you're wrong? One judge up there on the Fourth Circuit, Judge Quattlebaum, amazing name, was joined by 3 judges dissented. And the makeup of this court is pretty lib. Here is the Fourth Circuit Wikipedia page. So we've got Obama, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Clinton/Bush, Bush, Obama, 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 Trump, 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 Biden, 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 Clinton, Clinton, Obama, Obama. So very blue. Okay. If you want to count GW Bush on the red team, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, and Reagan's in there too. So man, that guy's been around a while, but pretty blue location. And so the Supreme Court says, these 3 dissenting judges criticized the panel, said, you guys are shirking party presentation principles. You are deciding the case on a novel ground without any party even raising the issue and without even requesting supplemental briefing. So nobody made the argument that the MSBP is basically void, right? It doesn't work anymore. Congress wanted it to be governed a certain way, and so now it's not happening that way. And so now we're going to basically say, yeah, the law says you have to funnel these claims into here. Yeah, the type of claim that you are funneling into here is covered, but the party to which you are sending those claims is now invalid or is being perverted by President Trump. And so therefore we have to kind of reinvestigate the whole thing and change everything. So they sent it back down for some fact finding, and the Supreme Court said, that's not how this works. They write, federal courts adhere to the principle of party presentation. Somebody needs to bring the issue up. That principle, the quote, rule that points not argued will not be considered. You didn't bring it up? We're not going to bring it up. It distinguishes our adversarial system of justice from an inquisitorial one. It isn't an inquisition. And you don't get to go in there and find problems that nobody's raising to you and then just decide, well, I think we're going to latch onto that one. Because courts are essentially a passive instrument of the government, quote, the Supreme Court says, we rely on the parties to frame the issue for a decision, and we decide only the questions presented to us. Now, we recently, this is kind of a backhand to them, we've already done this, Fourth Circuit. We already recently reversed you for violating this party presentation principle. In a prior case called Clark, a state prisoner who came to you seeking federal habeas relief argued that his trial counsel was ineffective for failing to investigate whether the entire jury had been tainted by one juror's unauthorized crime scene visit. The district court denied relief, but again, the Fourth Circuit reversed and granted a new trial, and it did so not based on the prisoner's ineffective assistance claims, but they again said, well, there's been a combination of extraordinary failures from juror to judge to attorney. And that penumbra of all these totalities really deprived the prisoner of his confrontation and impartial jury rights. And Supreme Court says nobody even made that argument up. So we summarily reversed by granting relief based on a claim that the prisoner never even asserted and that the state never even had a chance to address. The Fourth Circuit again transgressed the party presentation principle. If you're going to be there, make your claim. So too here. The Fourth Circuit violated the party presentation principle when it decided a case different from the one advanced. Now, as they conceded the respondent below, our precedent establishes that Congress, through the Civil Service Reform Act, intended the channeled covered claims to go to the MSBP. And so the parties confined their arguments to the narrow question whether the respondent's claims were in fact covered. Now, unsatisfied with rejecting respondents' arguments on that question, however, the Fourth Circuit, sua sponte, on their own, out of their butts, addressed a much broader question, and one that was now then remanded for proceedings on that question. Now, the court transformed the respondent's argument that the CSRA did not channel its claims into one that the CSRA might not, in light of current condition, channel any claims, from its claims to any claim, saying, well, any claims that arrive in front of them are going to be invalid because of Trump. Now, and the court did so without giving either side a chance to even address its theory. And that drastic departure, from the principle of party presentation constituted an abuse of your discretion, Fourth Circuit punks. Now, this is a beautiful quote. It says, federal courts are not roving commissions, okay? You don't just get to go search with a metal detector on a beach to find a problem, all right? Licensed to sally forth each day looking for wrongs to right. That's not your job. You have to have a party with a claim that has redressability, and you have to limit it to what's in front of you. You're not a roving commission in search of a problem. Now, the Court of Appeals lost sight of those principles here, and so the petition for a writ of cert is granted. The judgment of the Fourth Circuit is reversed, and the case is remanded for further proceedings consistent with this opinion. It is so ordered 9-0 by the Supreme Court, blown out. That's why Todd Blanche is so happy about this. We don't want activist judges who think about a living, breathing Constitution that they can just reinterpret in order to comply with constitutional intent whenever they want. The law is the law. And in the remainder of this, we have a concurring decision and opinion from Thomas and Barrett. No dissenters noted here. So Thomas writes, yeah, I agree with the court that the Fourth Circuit erred by disregarding traditional party presentation principles, but I write separately to explain why the Fourth Circuit's decision was also wrong on the merits. As the Fourth Circuit seemed to acknowledge, this court's precedent establishes that the district court lacked jurisdiction over this challenge to a federal workplace policy. Immigration judges are mad. They can't go do something. Their workplace policy says sorry. Judge Thomas writes, the Civil Service Reform Act of 1978 provides a statutory review scheme through which certain federal employees must raise their workplace complaints in a particular location. The scheme authorizes judicial review only after the employees have had their claims heard by the MSPP, the Merit Systems Protection Board. In a prior case called Elgin, this court also held that covered employees appealing covered agency actions must proceed exclusively through what the law says. Now, respondent concedes that its members are covered employees, they're immigration employees. The Fourth Circuit agreed that the workplace policy at issue is a covered agency action, which is about speaking about your job outside of your job. And so thus, the Fourth Circuit had to acknowledge that under Elgin, the National Association of Immigration Judges would be required to bring its case through the administration. And if they did, that would mean this lawsuit is invalid. You don't get to complain to mom and to dad. The law says mom decides this. Go to mom, complain to her. Then if you don't like it, then you can go sue in a court. But they just said, well, we don't like mom's decision, so we'll go to dad. Now, nevertheless, the Fourth Circuit strained to avoid a dismissal of the case based on its belief that new political considerations changed the governing law. Thank you, Judge Thomas. The court explained that it would not allow its, quote, black robes to insulate it from taking notice of items in the public record. The Fourth Circuit wrote that. Specifically, the Fourth Circuit worried that because the president removed the special counsel and 2 members of the board, there were now, quote, serious questions as to whether the law's adjudicatory scheme continues to function as intended. So Congress, writes Thomas, designed the law to rely on MSBP independence, and the Fourth Circuit claimed, so now that the government has questioned the constitutionality of the removal protections enshrined in the law, it was no longer clear that the law was functioning like Congress intended. Because this is what the perpetual, never-ending bureaucracy wants. They create laws like the MSBP that say we get to appoint people and you can never remove them. So they survive from administration to administration, even though the American people elect a new president, a new cabinet is appointed by the Senate and the president in conjunction and confirmed by the Senate. And all of a sudden, you've got all of these prior appointees to the MSBP and other agencies that just hang out like a cancer on the body politic of America. Trump said that is unconstitutional. Congress passed an unconstitutional law. Now, that doesn't mean that the rest of the law is invalid. It's about the removal protections. So Clarence Thomas says, now, if it's no longer functioning, the court and the Fourth Circuit said and reasoned, Congress might not have intended for such claims to be channeled to this board any longer. So then the Fourth Circuit remanded to the lower court for fact-finding as to how the law is functioning and whether, quote, a new examination of congressional intent may be required in light of changing circumstances. So the Fourth Circuit is going to prep it at the lower level to have it come back up to them, and then they'll just reinterpret the law however they see fit, because Trump changed it. And is Congress still around? Do they exist? Are they a part of our government anymore? Not really. They don't do much of anything, but it's their prerogative. It's checks and balances. The court doesn't need to step in here and say, yeah, we know John Thune is a goon and not useful. But if they have a problem with what the president is doing, that's how it works. The courts don't get to override not only the executive branch, but also the legislative branch. So Thomas nails him. He says the Fourth Circuit's analysis bears little resemblance, this is brutal, to legal interpretation. Oh, baby. One more time. The Fourth Circuit's analysis bears little resemblance to legal interpretation. Did you even go to law school? Do you even know what the Constitution is? Neither the president's view that he can remove federal executive officials, nor his having done so, change the meaning of the law or the binding nature of this court's interpretation of it, the Supreme Court, saying conditions may have changed, but the statute is not. Courts may not rewrite the statutory scheme in order to approximate what we think Congress might have wanted had it known that. The president or the courts may conclude that its removal restrictions were beyond its authority. And statutes change only when Congress changes them, okay, you jerks? Not when judges decide that they no longer vindicate Congress's purposes. And so, as Judge Quattlebaum wrote in his dissent, the Fourth Circuit's decision below undermines important principles of our system of justice, including that law remains law despite the political controversies of the day. And so read it and weep. And go back to law school. I absolutely love it. It bears little resemblance to legal interpretation because it isn't. It's politics. And this is the same pattern and practice that we've seen here in many other courts of appeals, many other district court judges. They say, well, oh no, it feels like we need to do this. Well, we don't care. It's what Congress says. They pass the law. You can say it's illegal or invalid, make your decision. That'll come back down on appeal. It can go up to the Supreme Court, just like it happened here. But you don't get to open up a whole box of fact-finding and, well, let's see how we can interpret congressional intent differently. So Fourth Circuit blown out. And thank you to Judge Thomas for making it crystal clear, and a very nice development that is unfolding in front of us. And here is the Fourth Circuit. It covers these states over here and encompasses Virginia, West Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Maryland right there. And so starting to make sense a little bit. Very blue district with a bunch of Obama, Biden, and Clinton appointees. So that's largely why they had to get backhanded proverbially by Judge Clarence Thomas. Now, elsewhere, we're learning it's not just rigged judges who are under scrutiny in immigration land. It's also the lawyers. Amazing. Nicole Spanganga said this one. Over from CBS News Homeland Security, she says a top Homeland Security official has also directed ICE to aggressively pursue administrative fraud cases against immigration lawyers. Go after the lawyers. And how many times have we complained here about immigration lawyers who just know the intricacies of the rules, know the judges? They just say, do you feel a threat if we were to deport you? Kilmar's like, yeah, no, I'll be threatened if I have to go back to El Salvador or Guatemala. Oh, really? What is it? Immigration lawyer says, pupusas. Is it pupusas? He says, oh yeah, pupusas. Yeah. The Barrio gang is going to come steal my mama's pupusas right out from under her. They say, perfect. So now that you have a credible threat and credible fear, we're going to fill that in here. Submit that to the judge, and then the judge says, that sounds like it's credible to me. So we're not going to let you get deported over and over and over again. And I've explained here many times, I know immigration lawyers, and I have seen their businesses explode over the last 4 years because of, and they're selling out their country, but they're making a lot of money doing it. Explode. Handling Joe Biden's immigration influx. Can you imagine starting a business and your government creates 20 million new clients for you like that? All of them come in, and then when you get them in, then the presidency changes and Trump comes in to start to deport all of them. And then guess what? 20 million new clients. Could you imagine? So they're cleaning up. They've gone, I've seen many go from like 0 to 8 figures, wild, and just without, really even having to do anything. They're just flowing with extra clients. And now, hopefully, they're going to be held responsible for this, because I think that they've really, in many ways, backstabbed their country. Not all of them, just like prosecutors. Some of them, I assume, are good people. I know some good immigration lawyers who have good hearts, but many others just, oh yeah, no, a papusa problem, gang member, come on in here. So here's the background on the story. So CBS News got their hands on the memo out of Washington saying DHS's top lawyer today directed ICE attorneys to aggressively pursue administrative fraud cases against immigration lawyers accused of filing false asylum claims, which are making up justifications for asylum. We can't send you home because it's dangerous. Okay, the whole country's dangerous. There's millions of people still living down there. Why is it so dangerous? And if you're so competent and capable, shouldn't you go back home and help your countrymen? The latest steps in the push to speed up removals, expand enforcement, and challenge the legal infrastructure around this immigration. And the lawyers are going to band together and they're going to sue. They're going to say, we're being targeted and we're just representing our clients. I get it. But you're not allowed to commit fraud. And in a memo dated today and obtained by CBS, General Counsel called James Percival instructed ICE lawyers within the office of the principal legal advisor to develop, quote, anti-fraud policies designed for robust enforcement of existing anti-fraud law. The memo said that any effort should include enforcement against immigration lawyers who are filing false asylum claims. And it's just like turnkey. Legal alien comes in, fill out the form. You're going to get killed by a gang member back in El Salvador, whatever. Not anymore. I mean, the place is pretty cleaned up down there. But then all of a sudden they just process it and you get a lawyer who keeps you here basically indefinitely. So while the directive does not create new penalties, it does signal that ICE lawyers will begin to use existing administrative enforcement tools more frequently to crack down not only against migrants accused of submitting fraudulent applications, but also the lawyers who represent them. You can't commit fraud. What if some J6 defense lawyer was committing fraud? They would prosecute them and send them to jail. J6 defense attorneys and other criminal defense attorneys, for the most part, have to have everything so dialed in and buttoned up. Otherwise, they're in big, big trouble. But immigration, because there were 20 million extra clients who came in the invasion, they then can kind of hide in obscurity. And how are you going to disprove it? We saw with Kilmar. He says a gang is attacking his mama's pupusas. what are you going to do? Go down to Guatemala and validate that? And when the immigration judges said, we actually don't believe you because there's credible evidence that you're an MS-13 gangbanger and a human trafficker and a wife beater, we also then will allow you to go sue in an Article 3 court where Judge Zenas out of Maryland will then reinterpret everything. And then another judge called Waverly Crenshaw, who Obama appointed, will dismiss your criminal case for your very criminal acts because of vindictiveness, which never gets granted for any regular American citizen ever. Now, for many years, millions of illegal aliens have committed fraud on our immigration system. In no place is this more rampant than an immigration court. And look at CBS. These people are, without citing specifics, thank you for the note. Do you not know? Are you guys so dense? Who wrote this crap article? Nicole Signagna. Great. So she needs some specifics. Maybe she should watch the show. Now, while the directive does not create new penalties, it signals they can use existing tools. The sweeping directive asserted that asylum claims are meant for unique and narrow circumstances, actual asylum, but that it has become standard practice for immigration lawyers to argue virtually every illegal alien faces persecution or torture in their home country because of race or political opinion or because of their gayness or whatever. They're going to get killed, so we have to let them in. So the right to every one of them, it's the really only mechanism. So they all come in, they all file it. Kilmar made up a papusa story. So the right to seek asylum in the U.S. is broader than the right to receive it. They say federal law dictates that any non-citizen who is physically present here and other things may apply, which should be ended essentially, or you can apply at the border. But in order to be approved, they must prove that they qualify. And they make it up. I'm being persecuted. Race, nationality, political opinion, membership in a particular social group. We had like the trans barbers or whatever. The statute cited in the memo allows the government to pursue civil penalties against people accused of immigration-related document fraud, including those who knowingly prepare, file, or help file the applications that are false or contain false statements. Any case would typically begin with a notice of intent to fine, a formal charging document that informs the lawyer or the recipient that they violated the law. Now, while recipients can fight the allegations before an ALJ, an administrative law judge, successful penalties can add up $4,700 for each fraudulent document, while each subsequent offense can be $11,000. And lawyers, immigration lawyers, can't commit fraud. Nobody can commit fraud. We know it's been kind of overlooked, and it's like, well, we really want them here, though. But nope, can't do it. Now we got a new sheriff in town. Now, the government could also seek a cease and desist order. For attorneys, any fraud finding could be referred to disciplinary authorities and potentially lead to the suspension or the expulsion from practice. In more serious cases, prosecutors might even consider criminal charges. Nice. The government has long prosecuted organized asylum fraud schemes. In 23, federal prosecutors in New York City announced guilty pleas by immigration lawyers accused of preparing fraudulent asylum applications and coaching clients to lie under oath. In 21, a Florida man posing as an immigration lawyer was sentenced to more than 20 years after they said he filed hundreds of fraudulent asylum claims. And do you think those that were processed will get reversed? I don't know. And in 19, an immigration lawyer in Queens, New York, was sentenced to 5 years. So it happens all the time. But in his memo, Percival wrote that ICE lawyers have not been using this as aggressively as they would like, saying, historically, ICE has depended on the discipline of immigration judges and the enforcement of criminal fraud laws to deter this conduct. But ICE has its own tools, and we are going to use them. The notice directed ICE lawyers to pursue document fraud enforcement, seemingly as part of their immigration court strategy, and go after the lawyers. The memo also appeared, and by the way, they went after lawyers back during COVID. They went after lawyers who represented Trump doing their job. They went after Jeff Clark's law license and many others who were representing the J6ers, saying they should lose their licenses and be suspended and kicked out of life. So, and they were not even committing fraud. They were just representing defendants that they didn't like. The memo also appears to anticipate concerns about a conflict of interest, suggesting ICE must ensure the attorney pursuing any fraud violation is separated from the litigation. So if you're appearing in immigration court against a particular illegal alien, then it's not good strategy to say, well, who's your lawyer? And since I'm basically prosecuting you as a defendant, as an illegal alien, I'm also going to prosecute your lawyer, saying, let somebody else handle that. Inside Trump's administration, the memo reflects the mounting focus on immigration lawyers, asylum advocates, large law firms who are all challenging this. In March, the president issued a memo directing the AG to seek sanctions against lawyers and law firms that bring frivolous, unreasonable, and vexatious litigation. The memo also invoked Trump's directive, accusing some lawyers of coaching migrants, 100% happening, in order to conceal facts or exaggerate the asylum claims. Yeah, I'm going to get killed. The executive order was also unleashed. Immigration lawyers and advocates have been sounding the alarm. The grift is coming to an end. The American Immigration Lawyers Association called the presidential memo a dangerous threat to immigration lawyers. Yeah, we know. Just don't commit fraud. Just do your job. Don't commit fraud. Don't exaggerate the credible fears that you claim your clients have. In Kilmar's case, it was literally mom's pupusa business. Gang members wanted those sweet, juicy pupusas. So that is now happening, and we're happy to see it. And Colin McDonald, who is focused on fraud all over the country, working as the assistant AG for the National Fraud Enforcement Task Force, had this to say in a meeting with Stephen Miller and VP J.D. Vance.
50 days ago today, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche announced the creation of the National Fraud Enforcement Division at the Department of Justice. And today, 50 days later, the Fraud Division has announced 450 major fraud events occurring across the country, from charges to convictions to sentences. We are off to a rapid start to protect you, the American taxpayer, and ensure that your dollars stay where they belong, and that is in your pocket. When an individual's money is stolen, that individual takes it personally and does everything they can to recover their money. This task force, under the Vice President's leadership, we are here to take it personally every time someone decides to rob the United States of their money. We are here to take it personally when someone decides to take money from a program designed to give money, food, health care to the needy, the sick, and the elderly. That is what the Fraud Division is here to do. It's to take it personally for you, the United States of America, when your money is stolen. In the last 50 days, our work includes the unprecedented charges against 15 defendants for Medicaid fraud schemes in Minnesota. It includes charges in a $650 million sober homes Medicaid fraud scheme in Arizona. It includes a guilty plea in a $270 million Medicaid fraud scheme in California. Those are just a few of the successes of the Fraud Division and the Department of Justice in the last 50 days. And we're only getting started. This is just the beginning of our fight against fraud, and that's where these partners come into play, because we need your help. Our division is called the National Fraud Enforcement Division for a reason. It's not the Washington, D.C. Fraud Task Force. It's the National Fraud Enforcement Division because the fraud problem is national, and our state partnerships are critical to solving the fraud crisis in our country. So I'm going to give 3 things that our state partners here can do right now today. Number 1, we heard about the Medicaid fraud control units. Re-energize and fully mobilize, fully maximize your state's Medicaid fraud control units. When we're done, we want to rename those into the Making Fraud Completely Unprofitable Unit, MFUCU. These units are your state's and really the country's first line of defense against Medicaid fraud. How many active investigations do they have? How many are ready to be charged? If partnered up with DOJ, how many could be charged in the next 90 days? Under your leadership, the MFUCU units can flourish. Second, join the DOJ's newly launched Special Attorneys Program. This program has unlocked $300 million to combat fraud, drug trafficking, human trafficking, and crimes committed by aliens in your state.
Nice.
This grant program will pay for you to send attorneys to join the fraud division or your local U.S. Attorney's Office.
Nice.
In addition to paying the full cost of prosecutors you send the DOJ, you can receive a 20% premium to boost your justice system staffing and
Let's
capacity.
go. We have been talking about this for a long time here. We need to staff up the DOJ. A lot of prosecutors left because they couldn't be a part of the Democrats' politicized DOJ, and we have to refill the ranks. One way to do that is with gobs of money. So $300 million is a hell of a start, and they're interfacing here with all of the red state AGs, not all of them, but a large portion of them. And the Democrats refuse to show up to this entire hearing because they love the fraud.
And this is critical. Bring your state's investigators and data to the table. For us to bring a case, we need documents, we need witnesses. Bring your documents and bring your witnesses to the table. Don't run with your ball and go home. Come to the table and solve this problem with us. Your state's data, including Medicaid payment and claims records, and the expertise of your investigators are essential to uncovering fraud. We've developed a successful playbook for exploiting this kind of data to prosecute fraudsters.
Nice.
Next week, we'll be on the road to announce a partnership with a state that is leading the way in advancing coordination efforts with the fraud division. The state AG and the Mafuku unit are taking aggressive action against fraud. The state auditor, the state AG, and county prosecutors will be participating in our special attorney program, and the state treasurer and secretary of state are joining a statewide benefits fraud task force comprised of federal and state partners, which will be chaired by the U.S. Attorney's Office. And we invite you all to join us in similar efforts. It is our mission to combat fraud, no matter how big, no matter how small, no matter how hard, hold criminals accountable, protect victims of crime, and restore trust in our government. Come join us in the nationwide fight against fraud. We are ready to partner with you.
Nice. And we're going to Mafuku the crap out of you instantly. We've got a lot of money to do it and a lot of resources. And Colin McDonald, man, shout out. So as we see, the Supreme Court just reversed. Whiny immigration judges need to funnel their claims into the appropriate venue, and Fourth Circuit judges or other judges throughout the judiciary can't just act however they want, sua sponte, pulling issues out of their booties and deciding them in order to comply with congressional intent. They're not Congress. So nice decisions there. And the judges are not the only ones. The lawyers are coming under scrutiny too. The facilitators of the mass fraud. And so it is a full operation unfolding right in front of our eyes. We're happy to see it. Of course, we're going to keep our eye on this one. Thank you for joining as we do. Now, we got more from Clarence Thomas because he was not happy about this decision that dropped here today. Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court judge, unleashes on California and Washington, very unhappy with the situation that is developing after Florida sued California and Washington, and the place to do that is in the Supreme Court. The Constitution says conflicts between the states go to SCOTUS. Where else are they going to go? Are you going to sue Florida, or rather have Florida sue California and go have that filed in a California court? How's that going to work out for Florida? Or vice versa. If California has a problem with Florida, are they going to go sue in a Florida court? No, it goes to SCOTUS. And that's what happened here. Florida submitted this, and in the Supreme Court submitted a motion for leave to file a bill of complaint. It's like a lawsuit between the states. And the Supreme Court made sure that was denied. And of course, we see here the only two dissenters are Judge Thomas and Judge Alito, who dissent from the denial of the motion for leave to file this lawsuit. Now, the original lawsuit looks like this. Came down here in this matter, state of Florida versus Cali and Washington. And it's a 33-pager, but what you'll notice is they're very upset with immigration laws that are brought forth by California and Washington. All of it well documented. They say both of these states are like little insurgencies, like little terror cells, and they hinder federal law enforcement. And the issue before us today is about CDLs and why federal law requires certain compliance with federal law in order to hand out the CDLs. But California and Washington, they ignore these standards and they authorize illegal immigrants without proper training or the ability to even read the road signs to drive commercial motor vehicles, which ultimately leads in dead Americans. Now, the result here is mayhem. States that choose to follow federal law and enforce CDL laws have safety standards, and Florida is the most recent victim here. Just weeks ago from the filing of this, an illegal immigrant licensed by both Washington and California attempted to make a reckless U-turn in the middle of a Florida highway in an 18-wheeler. Now, that U-turn ignored multiple road signs that said, "Don't do this," but he was proven to be unable to read or speak English. The result was 3 fatalities, a flurry of costly preventative measures by Florida to limit dangerous and improperly licensed drivers from threatening its roads and its citizens. So they say, we need to file a complaint against California, against Washington, so they stop doing this. They say there's a bunch of ambiguities or ubiquity here and danger of commercial vehicles. The reason why we have CDL licenses is because we recognize you're driving around deadly weapons. This regulatory system places great responsibility on partnering states to uphold and enforce these laws, and California and Washington have intentionally abandoned their duties under this system. Congress passed a bunch of laws, the Commercial Motor Vehicle Safety Act, and others to create standards and guidelines. And one of the bare minimums is you have to speak English, and they have refused to do that. There are strict requirements. They're supposed to go through a multi-step process in order to get a CDL. And to qualify, you got to have a driving test. You got to have a skills test. You have to have proof of citizenship or lawful permanent residency. The minimum standards are contained in the regulations. States have tests for these things. In order to achieve a passing score, you got to get at least 80% of the questions right and pass. One of those is to read and speak the English language sufficiently so that you don't miss the road signs that say, don't hang a U-turn in your 80,000-pound vehicle in the middle of the highway. Now, of course, these states are ignoring all of this. California now actively opposes these requirements. For many years, they required validation, but now they don't. Same thing in Washington. And so you get the gist of the original complaint. So they submitted this. They said, "Hi, Supreme Court, can you please hear our case so that we can file a claim against these other states?" Washington, same thing. 2 years later, they enacted a Keep Washington Working Act. That act in Washington prohibits state and local law enforcement agencies from even asking about immigration or citizenship status. Their Department of Licensing, which administers CDLs, operates as a state law enforcement agency, and so they're not allowed to look at it. They also refrain from inquiring about anything about it. Statistics also bear out that their failure goes to English proficiency. I should learn to speak English. English proficiency. Washington conducted over 6,000 inspections in a 3-month period in 2025, and yet only 4 of those inspections involved an English language proficiency violation that placed the driver out of service. So of 6,000 people, 4 got removed. California and the rest of them, by passing these rules, are harming the rest of us. Take this guy, Jose Inez Garcia Zarate, an illegal alien and a career criminal who in 2005 was released from San Francisco County Jail despite an outstanding ICE detainer. Less than 3 months later, he shot and killed a 32-year-old woman called Kate Steinle when she was walking along a pier. Then 3 months ago, another illegal alien was convicted of murdering Virgil Stebbins, a Tacoma car dealer who was nearing retirement. Jerry España de Villa had been removed from the country 4 times and then settled back into Washington. The state charged him with driving under the influence in 2020 and assault in 21, but pursuant to the Keep Washington Working Act, did not alert ICE. Then in February 24, Gouveia entered Stebbins' sales lot, asked for a ride. When that was declined, Gouveia shot him in the head and stole his car. So because of this disastrous policy and these effects of these sanctuary laws, they're not confined to those states. Those states act as magnets, and then they spread out from there. Florida is one of the top 5 destinations for thousands of illegal aliens that have been relocated. Sanctuary cities like Denver, El Paso, and others have launched similar efforts to bus illegal aliens out of there, afuera, into these other states, causing an influx. And in fact, it looks like California's illegal alien population shrank from 19 to 22 as both illegal aliens and others fled to other states. And so now they want to sue. This is an unwelcome surge of illegal aliens into Florida. It's costing Floridians $2 billion each year for Medicaid and public education alone, money that could go to Florida American citizens. It's a financial burden, but it's also deadly. Another one, Alejandro Jose Cornell, an illegal alien from Venezuela who was convicted in Wisconsin, a non-sanctuary state, for strangling a woman and abusing her daughter. He had been arrested in Little Somalia, aka Minneapolis, just a few months before committing these assaults. But pursuant to Minneapolis's sanctuary laws, he was released, and again, they did not notify ICE at all. Oh, Miguel Martinez, battery and the production of CP. Martinez was a registered offender in California, but they didn't turn him over because they love that there. He later moved to Louisiana, began working with conspirators to produce bad imagery involving juveniles under the age of 13. Amazing. Glad he's here. So it continues. The murder of Laken Riley, may she rest in peace, in Georgia. Another illegal alien, Jose Ibarra, struck her in the head with a rock while she was jogging. They also give cover to Trende Aragua, who alone in 2023 created a sanctuary, fueled illegal immigration flood of over 6,000 Floridians who then lost their lives to fentanyl and its analog. Now, you get the complaint, okay? We could complain about this all day because it's a horrific situation that these sanctuary states have put us in. So they want to sue. They took this up to SCOTUS. They said, hi, we want you to understand you have to hear this complaint. We can't file it anywhere else. Please hear us. That's the background. Then we get the decision that dropped today. So Amy Coney Barrett, John Roberts, Gorsuch, then we add in there Kavanaugh, plus the 3 libs, Sotomayor, Kagan, and Ketanji. All of them in 7-2, they say, we don't want to hear this complaint. So it is denied. The only 2, Thomas and Alito, say we dissent, and Justice Thomas takes the lead on it. And here's what he says. All right. The state of Florida moved for leave to file a complaint against Washington and California for defying federal law by providing CDLs, commercial licenses, to illegal aliens who cannot read English. The result of this practice, Florida alleges, is the disturbing phenomenon of illegal alien truck drivers causing fatal accidents on the road. I respectfully dissent from this court, the Supreme Court's denial of Florida's motion, because we cannot refuse to hear suits between the states. That's what we're here for. He gives us more background on this one. On August 12, 2025, Harjinder Singh crashed a tractor trailer into a minivan on the Florida Turnpike. We saw the footage of it. It was horrific. 3 dead instantly. While driving on the highway, Singh approached a sign clearly prohibiting U-turns and marking the turnaround area for official use only, but he can't read. So Singh inexplicably attempted a U-turn across the median anyway, and he had his brother in the seat. And after the accident happened, he looks at the camera, it's recording him, he's kind of like, oh, how annoying. It was going to be such a pain. 3 people were dead instantly. Singh's U-turn swung his trailer across both lanes of the highway where it could not be avoided by a minivan traveling behind him. All 3 passengers in the minivan died. Singh was arrested for vehicular homicide. And by the way, there's like 1 million people from his homeland who are all now signing a petition to say he should have a reduced sentence. He's innocent. He didn't know any better. Have leniency and more. Now, law enforcement soon discovered that Singh, an Indian who had crossed the Mexican border illegally, likely could not read the road signs. After the crash, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration tested Singh's English proficiency, and it found that Singh could not correctly answer most of its verbal questions and that he could identify only 1 out of 4 highway signs. Great. Give him a license and the most deadly vehicles you can drive on the road. An illegal alien, writes Thomas, who cannot read English road signs, cannot drive an 80,000-pound tractor trailer. Federal law and regulations prohibit states from providing commercial driver's licenses to applicants unless they pass a driver's test, sufficiently understand the English language, and show appropriate immigration status. He cites the rules, U.S. Code, Code of Federal Regulations, and more. Now, although Singh failed his test at least 10 times in Washington and at least 1 time in California, both Washington and California provided Singh with CDLs. 10 times. Couldn't even memorize the test. Crashes like Singh's, and by the way, he comments down below in a footnote. He says, Thomas writes, Washington, the state, eventually admitted that it had erred when it licensed Singh. Failed the CDL test 10 times. New details on the Indian origin Harjinder who took the wrong turn in U-turn in Florida. California, for its part, issued Singh a non-domiciled CDL, a short-term license for immigrants who lack lawful permanent resident status. Under federal rules as they existed at the time, Singh had to show a valid work authorization. Apparently he didn't. California now explains that although Singh failed his initial test, it issued the non-domiciled CDL only after he eventually passed. Just like, come on, just keep going. Just try again. We really want you to drive and be here. So here. Now, Thomas writes, crashes like Singh's are disturbingly common, saying, and citing another report from Sean Duffy, saying the Department of Transportation seems to partly attribute this trend to, quote, systemic noncompliance with federal CDL standards in several states, including in California. He continues, now, after Singh's crash, Florida sought permission from the court to file a lawsuit against Washington and California based on how those states provide CDLs to foreign drivers. Florida says Washington and California laws are preempted by federal law to the extent that they prohibit licensing officials from asking applicants about their immigration status. They say, we're not allowed to ask you. Florida says you have to. Federal law to get a federal CDL to drive interstate across federal lines, state lines, you have to comply. Florida says that both states disregard the federal commercial licensing standards, and that constitutes an actionable public nuisance because it's killing Floridians. Now, according to Florida, enforcement data also suggested that neither state is adequately checking CDL holders if they can speak out of English. So without explanation, says Thomas, the Supreme Court today, Roberts and Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, denies Florida permission and leave to file its lawsuit and proceed to the motion to dismiss stage. Now, he says, this is ridiculous. This court has exclusive jurisdiction over Florida's lawsuit because it involves one state suing another state. Simple as Article 3 of the Constitution establishes, quote, in all cases in which a state shall be a party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. Congress has made our original jurisdiction exclusive in all controversies between 2 or more states, citing 28 U.S. Code 1251A, meaning no other court can even hear it. So Florida can't sue California in California. They can't sue California in Florida. They can't say, let's find a mediator and sue in Texas. It's only SCOTUS. Thomas writes, I doubt this court has discretion to refuse to hear cases within its exclusive original jurisdiction. Saying in a quote from another case back in 1821, when Chief Justice Marshall was writing, we have no more right to decline the exercise of jurisdiction which is given than to usurp that which is not given. We have to hear it. Now, if this court does not exercise jurisdiction over a controversy between two states, then the complaining state has no judicial forum in which to seek relief at all. The only statute addressing this court's jurisdiction over these kinds of cases nowhere contemplates a process of discretionary review, meaning we get to decide. But nonetheless, this court has adopted a discretionary approach to its exclusive original jurisdiction based on, quote, policy judgments that are in conflict with the policy choices that Congress made in the statutory text specifying the court's original jurisdiction. Thus, Thomas says, both Judge Alito and I have repeatedly called for revisiting this court's precedents in this area. And we remember this. Remember when Texas sued California after 2021 and Ted Cruz was going to go argue this thing in front of the Supreme Court? And they denied that motion. They said, no, we don't want to get involved in your election. Texas sued California to say the election had problems and we want the Supreme Court to hear and settle this. They said, no, thanks. Same thing in Alabama versus California in 2025. SCOTUS says, not interested. Now, even under the court's discretionary approach, it likely should have granted Florida leave to file this complaint. The court considers two factors in exercising their discretion: the nature of the interest of the complaining state, focusing on the seriousness and the dignity of the claim, and the availability of an alternative forum where they can resolve this. Now, as to the first factor, this court has described as a model case a dispute that, quote, would amount to a casus belli if the states were fully sovereign. In other words, the court asks whether the dispute would be a matter of diplomatic concern in the international arena. So treat them as two countries. Maybe Florida should invade California. This case appears to meet that standard. A dispute over one nation sending dangerous people into another would be the source of considerable international tension, unless you're our Congress. Then they're like, well, we don't want to be bigots, so let all the gangbangers in. If Florida were an independent nation, Thomas says, it might resolve this dispute by diplomacy, by submitting it to an international arbitration, or by self-help measures like launching missiles. By entering the Union, the states agree to instead have these disputes resolved by the Supreme Court. Now, as to the second factor, all appear to agree that Florida cannot sue Washington and California anywhere else. Even the federal government's enforcement authority over these matters contemplates judicial review only in limited circumstances. So it may not result in the declaration of legal obligations that Florida is ultimately seeking. So this court declines to even hear Florida's claims, even though it has nowhere else to bring them. And because I would allow Florida to file its complaint, Thomas and Alito joining say, I respectfully dissent. And the more this happens, the more the Supreme Court doesn't resolve these, the greater the tension grows between the states. Because why should one state like California or Washington be able to operate in total flagrant violation of federal law that our representatives, so-called, vote on and pass in order to facilitate extra benefits for their population, to get more individuals, warm, hot bodies in their states so that they get more representatives after the counting of the peoples in the census, why they can get more people on all of their fraudulent healthcare, education, food programs that they then get reimbursement from the feds, siphoning off and ransacking the federal treasury for their own benefits. and then sending people who can't read or write English onto the roads so that they do U-turns and kill American citizens driving to and fro. States are going to get tired of it. What's the next step if SCOTUS won't step in and act? Maybe it is missiles. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, but that's where we're at right now. Now, Bill Melugin had this post. It's not just a one-off. He said at least 4 Indian illegal alien truck drivers with CDLs have been arrested for allegedly causing deadly crashes that have killed multiple innocent people in different parts of the country. Manveer Singh, California. Jashanpreet Singh, California. Harjinder Singh, Florida. Sukhdeep Singh, Indiana. And around we go. SCOTUS doesn't want to step in and do anything about it. And so that is what SCOTUS came down on. And we just saw the actual complaint from Florida. So I guess they're out of luck. Just have to keep accepting foreign invaders who can't speak English into your country and into your state, rather. And there are a lot of them. Newsmax had this story. Indiana saying that nearly 300 undocumented truck drivers have been stopped during inspections lately. 283 of them in this new post from this week, saying who else is handing these out? Oh, New York and California. 300 undocumented migrants, have been stopped and prosecuted in Indiana over the last 3 months. The New York Post reported Saturday, citing comments from an aide to a Republican governor, Mike Braun. Tony Ferraro, a Braun aide, said during a recent meeting, 283 undocumented truck drivers. And who is hiring them? Why are they not being investigated for fraud? Are there Americans who are citizens who can drive trucks? It's a good job, actually. And our truckers are amazing. I represented a lot of truckers. They get picked on a lot, actually. But they do an amazing service. So maybe we should hire more Americans who can actually speak into English. So that's over a 3-day period. That's it. 3 days that we pulled out of trucks. Ferraro said many of the drivers carried CDLs issued by New York and California that permit non-citizens to obtain licenses under certain circumstances. Indiana officials did not specify what criminal charges were being filed against them. Federal rules generally required CDL holders to be legally authorized to work, though the Post notes that some immigration and licensing rules vary by state and may depend on when the credentials were issued. Indiana does not issue driver's licenses to undocumented illegals, and Braun's administration has stepped up highway inspections and immigration-related enforcement efforts since taking office earlier this year. Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita also backed tougher immigration enforcement policies, including expanded cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration authorities. But once again, the sanctuary states want to act as a magnet. And there's another thesis that by bringing in more foreigners, they are pushing out the citizens out of their states. They don't want them there anymore because they're too much work, demanding accountability and that they do a good job on all these things. Much easier to just deliver a license to an illegal alien who's just happy to be here, then deliver a balanced budget, for your citizens, or deliver good schools for your citizens. Just replace everybody with other people that are just happy to have a license and some food and health and housing, and your job's done. Managing a population's a lot of work, so just bring in a new one, which is what's happening. And of course, it continues on. Brandon Gill is saying that it's not only going to be undocumented non-citizens, because now they just have companies called Have My Baby in Miami. So babies will come and be dropped on America, even though the parents do not reside here, like the 14th Amendment requires. And those people will be actual citizens. Isn't that great? Even though they'll have no connection physically to our culture, to our country. Come in, plop one down. Here's your piece of paper. Take them home. And then they're just an American on paper. That's our current system right now. And the Supreme Court is contemplating a birthright citizenship case They better get this right, man. He says over 2,000 foreigners paid them to fly to America, this company, and buy citizenship for their child, which is a total exploitation of our Constitution and our country.
Have My Baby in Miami. That's the name of an actual company that is facilitating birth tourism into the United States, where foreigners
Literally
come in on visas, have children, then leave so that their children can remain American citizens. That's a problem. The American people are sick of it, and my task force on the House Oversight Committee is going after these companies. Have My Baby in
Miami. They want to rank on the Googles so that people from other countries just say, how do I have my baby in Miami? Bing! Right here. We've got a turnkey solution for you. Just pay some money. Your kid will be an automatic citizen. And our stupid politicians just continue to enable it. And our Supreme Court might rubber stamp it here very soon. But Stephen Miller was out today. He said, you know, we used to have an honor system here. We used to not have companies that would set themselves up in order to exploit our laws, where we would bring refugees in, presuming that they're honest, honorable people who'll be grateful for the graciousness of our land, who then turn around and just milk and bilk the treasury for billions of dollars, get licenses when they should not be driving, don't even have the mental capacity to understand the fact that they're driving blindly on a foreign road. Could you imagine going over to China, not speaking a word of Mandarin, and driving a big rig? You're like, yeah, no, sure. Where do you need this puppy? No idea where the hell you're going or what the heck's going on. I think you'd have some trepidation about that. But now they come here, they sure, yeah, whatever. Yeah, let me just flip a U-turn right here. So there is no honor. There is no integrity. And people are dying, and our country's being hollowed out day by day. So here's Stephen Miller explaining, now we're being fleeced to the tune of billions and added up, compounded over the years, trillions and trillions of dollars.
All of the systems in our country, whether you're talking about voting, whether you're talking about entitlements, whether you're talking about welfare benefits, were set up based on the honor system. They're set up based on the idea that you could trust the average person through their own morality to abide by the rules and comply with the law. And so the way most welfare works in most states and most places is we take your word for it. If you thought a piece of paper and you say your kids are hungry, you are going to get food stamps. We don't check as a country if you even have kids. The fact is basic as that. We don't even check if you even have children. You will just start getting the checks. And so what's happened to our country is we became a society, as we've seen with the Somali refugee problem in Minnesota, where you have a large number of people that are not following the honor system, they're not playing by the rules, they're not abiding by our laws, and the amount that has been fleeced from us is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. I believe, based on what I've seen and what I've heard, is that we could balance the federal budget if the only dollars that went out of the Treasury went to individuals who were properly, lawfully, correctly eligible to receive them. And that ultimately is going to be what we have to do as a country. In the meantime, because of the Vice President's leadership, you are seeing the most muscular, robust, aggressive, dedicated, determined, and speedy effort to shut down criminal fraud that has not only ever occurred in the history of this country, but in any developed nation.
Wow, amazing. Could you imagine if we had nice balanced budgets and no deficits, and our roads were nice and safe, our schools were good, our kids were getting smarter every day, healthcare was amazing, and our government was functioning like a modern, advanced society should be? It's possible. Stephen Miller has the roadmap, and the anti-fraud task force is hitting the problem at the target, but it is just a start. There's much more work to do, and our Supreme Court, for whatever reason, can't even hear a lawsuit of one state versus another. That's why we are so glad we have Thomas and Alito. We're going to be hanging on for a while, and we're going to be here to continue to cover them and the Supreme Court. Thank you for joining and subscribing as we do. All right, we got one more update, and then we'll hear from you and see what else is happening out there on the day. The anti-ICE insurgents are back, and Homeland Security is saying they are obstructing a federal facility in New Jersey, posting this saying that the rioters seen here in this Fox News clip have obstructed law enforcement operations, insurrected, prevented the peaceful transfer of illegal aliens, a felony and a crime. And guess what? Just like in Minneapolis, local police have refused to answer calls to help our law enforcement. And so we will not allow rioters to slow ICE down. I think they are, saying law and order will be restored. Here's what's happening out there. And there were a bunch of clips from yesterday, all night long and over the weekend. All of this emanated because somebody was saying there was a hunger strike at Delaney Hall. But Homeland says there isn't a hunger strike out there. There are no subprime conditions. All detainees are provided with 3 meals a day, clean water, clothing, bedding, showers, soap, toiletries, and opportunities to commute with their families and their lawyers, many of whom have free lawyers. Aliens are also provided with comprehensive health care, including medical, dental, and mental health services are available for the crazy ones. They also have access to medical appointments and 24-hour emergency care. Gosh, that's expensive. For many illegal aliens, this is the best health care they have received their entire lives, and better than many American citizens have access to or can afford. So Time is talking about this. So they went wild last night, and many foresaw this problem. Oilia Scootercaster was there on scene reporting this, and you can see the barricades that they have created. These are the anti-ICE protesters, and what's happening here is this is a vehicle that's entering or exiting the facility, and the ICE agents inside stop and they get checked by the insurgents. The insurgents are looking into the back of their vehicles, as we just saw right there, taking photos, chronicling everything, and then granting them permission to leave. Okay, we're going to let you out. We're running this facility now. And it was happening all night long. You can see these people still around there, lots of profanity, lots of screaming, so we'll leave the audio off. But finally then, they grant permission to exit the location. So that means they're actually in charge of the whole facility. And we're wondering, why is this being allowed to happen? Why can they do this? This is obstruction of law. This is an insurgency. It was already organized in Minneapolis and Minnesota. They have very orchestrated, coordinated groups. We read through a post by a Green Beret who did anti-insurgency work in Iraq, and he said, this is out of control. They've got spreadsheets, they've got Signal and Telegram groups, real-time communications, active dispatch, and more. And it was happening all weekend long, and nobody did anything about it. Here, Nick Sorter is saying they're winning in Newark, New Jersey. Here's another scene. They sit down, they lock arms, and they prevent any operation of federal law. Okay, this would be, if these were Republicans doing it at the Capitol, a nationwide scandal, right? It would be something that would, there they go again. Come check the car. Okay, she says, it's okay. There's no one in there. I'm going to allow you out. Okay, come on out. Out of the federal facility. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen. Now, there's more. We had some Democrat senators show up and do the little I'm being attacked routine. Here was Andy Kim. He said he showed up to support hunger striking detainees. And he got, well, pepper spray in his eyeball. And so we have another woman. Here, let me squirt this into your eyeball here, Kim. Get it in there. Yeah, keep trying. And now it's like, you know, Red Cross is there. He's like a victim of an attack. So we've got Democrat senators who are also a part of the insurgency. I wonder if Judge Boasberg will grant search warrants for his cell phone when Todd Blanche DOJ submits a request for them, which he won't do because they're not like the Democrats. Maybe they should be. But a sitting Democrat senator shows up and has to get squirted in the eyeball. Now, here's more. They're also taking cinder blocks out. So this is outside the facility. Once again, Oilia is there, and she's doing amazing reporting. This guy's wrecking the planters, taking out literal cinder blocks and building barricades around the facility. And it just continues on. Mark Wayne Mullen came out, who's really, as far as I can tell, done nothing. He said, in response to Cory Booker, Cory said, immigrants at Delaney Hall are on a hunger strike because they are fighting for their human rights. The conditions there are deplorable. They said they're not. We're working with our partners in the state to bring an end to this nightmare, and I'll be going to Delaney Hall again to conduct oversight. That was yesterday. So Mark Wayne comes out. He says, this is nothing more than a political stunt by New Jersey sanctuary politicians for fundraising clicks. There is no hunger strike at Delaney Hall. There are no subprime conditions, and dozens of these sanctuary politicians were spending their Memorial Day weekend smearing ICE law enforcement, standing up for foreign invaders who've broken federal law rather than going to a cemetery to honor veterans who gave the ultimate sacrifice for their country. They don't really care about that. They should be thanking our law enforcement for removing these murderers, PDF files, R'ers, and drug traffickers from their states. Would these sanctuary politicians like to house these criminals in their homes or have them as neighbors? No, but they want them as your neighbors. They want them coming into your homes at 2 in the morning. We need these sanctuary politicians to stop peddling this garbage and cooperate with us to get these criminals out of their state. They're not going to cooperate with you there, Mark. Maybe you should send them a nice letter and go ask them nicely. It's an organized insurgency. It's been going on for days. It's been going on for years now. It's happened in Minneapolis for a very long time until they kicked federal agents out. They won. And now they're regrouping. And unless you do something to address it, they're going to win again. So don't expect, how naive could you be, Booker, Kim, Menendez, Nelly, and others to come join ranks with you. They want the criminals here. They've enabled it. That's why they're doing this. I don't know what it's going to take to get this through these guys' heads, but maybe nothing. So they also were creating a big garbage dump. Seen here, massive blocks, maybe not even cinder blocks. Cinder blocks look like they're lighter than that. Yeah, those look like stones. And they were pulling stuff out of a dumpster to create a barricade around. Fortunately, it does look like they got some control of the mechanism. They got a dump truck to come in here and pick up the dumpster and haul it on out of there. But unless you start rounding the people up and putting them in jail for obstruction and felony attacks on federal facilities, not sure that that's going to change anything. So here's what Fox News was reporting as of this afternoon on the situation.
This is McAdam. She's live right now outside Delaney Hall in Newark, New Jersey, where those protesters there, Lexus, have been facing off with some of the ICE agents. What's happening?
That's right. Well, it has been going on for a few days, and then it happened again this morning, and it's happening again throughout the afternoon. So we're just going to move in on a little bit and show you what's going on out here. You can see that they've got the protesters that are sitting here, and I thought it was important to point out a lot of them actually had their faces kind of covered, but the big deal here, right, in New Jersey is that these people don't think ICE agents should be able to cover their faces. So that's one thing. But they're facing off with these ICE officers who are trying to do their job, Sandra, because they believe that this detention facility here, Delaney Hall in Newark, New Jersey, should be shut down. They say it's because the migrants inside of the facility are not being treated right. So that's why they're out here. That's why they're positioned here with their goggles on, ready to be tear gassed or pepper sprayed, they say, if possible. So pointing it out, obviously we covered what happened on the ground in Minneapolis. We covered that in Minnesota. We covered a little bit of what happened in Broadview, Illinois, outside of Chicago. That's a more similar setup to what happened here. So they have not as big of crowds, but the people do come prepared. And one of the other things, Sandra, that was important to point out on video that we saw yesterday on social media was they kind of stop all these cars that are coming and going. And the protesters are trying to act as security in those videos, asking them who's in the car, and then they decide if they're going to let you through or not. And then here you can see some media, but they are blocking the roadway, and this backs up a huge road that's right off the highway. So it really could cause a lot of problems here. So we'll keep an eye on it. But the governor of New Jersey was out here celebrating Memorial Day by demanding that the migrant criminals inside be released because she says they're on a hunger strike. So we'll keep an eye on it, Sandra.
This is McAdams.
Great. So nothing is ultimately happening, and they're really in control of the situation. But what is Homeland doing? Well, they're putting out press releases. And here is what they said, saying, we are now debunking the smears by the sanctuary politicians. Okay. So they're going to win hearts and minds, I guess. Says from Washington, New Jersey sanctuary politicians, including Mickey Sherrill, Booker, Kim, Menendez, and others, chose to spend Memorial Day weekend smearing ICE law enforcement. They don't care that you call them smearers. This is good for them. They'll take this and send it to their constituencies and say, see how amazing and brave we are. Booker had a post. Andy Kim, who got squirted in the eyes, said, we're here to make our detainees' voices heard. Delaney Hall must be shut down immediately. ICE cannot be allowed to continue operating this way. They're not going to stop there, Mark, until they get total acquiescence. Another one from Nellie Pooh. I'm standing here. So I guess now the model is illegal aliens at any facility and anywhere in the country, one guy can say, actually, I don't really like turkey sandwiches. He's not eating. You know what that means? He's on a hunger strike. So insurgents deploy, and go insurrect another facility. Menendez, not Bob, I think he's in jail. Last night I arrived at Delaney Hall to conduct oversight. I was denied entry. La Monica, it's a Democrat orchestrated attack. I'm back. This is Body Slam La Monica. Hopefully she doesn't slam anybody with her body. Congresswoman Analilia Meha, all caring about foreigners more than their own people on Memorial Day. Here's what Homeland says, though. They have everything they need, and we provide medical care, and this is a political stunt. In fact, these are the people that they're standing for, and they don't care. They can do these name and shame games all day long. We've done this before with Minneapolis. They don't care. No one cares. We care. They don't care. This guy, Jose de la Olanes, criminal alien from El Salvador, homicide. Great. Go fight for him to get out. Here's another one. Steve McKenzie, prohibited weapon. He's from Jamaica, arrested in New Jersey. Homicide, aggravated assault, robbery, and more. But he's a widow hungry now, so we have to go save him and break him out. We had another one. Juan Reyes, criminal illegal alien from Mexico. Homicide. Great. Another murderer. Another one. Offenses against the child. Jean Martinez Valverde from Peru. This guy, Sergio Abrantes from Portugal, includes enticement of a minor. Great. This other guy, Antonio Gutierrez Arroyo, Mexico, assault of another one. Here's one, Samuel Santiago Gomez from Spain. Drug possession, cocaine, prohibited weapons, and aggravated assault. Great. He'll do great here. Now, criminal history for this guy, Miguel. Another one, ag assault, possession of a weapon, drug trafficking, and it just goes on. Jose Taveras, it's like, this is like the Democratic Party, like NBA draft. Oh, perfect. Yeah, release them here. They're oppressed by white Americans. Glenroy Lewis, a robbery, weapon, assault, ag assault, Lewis, Reyes, larceny, burglary, the marijuana, weapons, robbery. Perfect. Heroin, identity theft, opium, robbery, drug trafficking, Jonathan Sepulveda, Lara. And it just goes on. You get the gist of it. That's great. Keep posting images. Democrats don't care. They don't look at it. They stand with them. Kilmar wife beater Abrego Garcia was trafficking illegal aliens. A judge said that you talking mean about him was vindictive and selective. So I really don't even know what they're doing. But Mark Wayne is out there, and Fox News was also reporting on this. Now, one guy who we're all looking back at with a little bit more fondness is Greg Bovino. Remember him? He said, we have a simple choice to make here. You can either tolerate communist-style anarchy or put an end to it. Look at Newark right now. Radicals openly blocking roads and ICE vehicles at Delaney Hall. It's disturbing. What's more disturbing, the agents on scene have the tools to shut this down instantly. yet someone's holding them back. Compare that to this video from Border Hawk News. The anarchists that we faced in Chicago were way more violent, and look how quickly they were put down once the green team was unleashed. These protesters don't stand a chance. There's a bright line between peaceful protest and anarchy. What we're watching in Newark isn't a protest, it's anarchists testing how much lawlessness we'll accept. Who's really calling the shots on that restraint? I don't know. Mark Wayne's at the top of it. But yeah, remember this scene? Bovino didn't play around, okay? You're not going to interfere with our operation, with our law enforcement, and we will just push you back. It's the federal government. And we had hell unleashed in America for a 4.5-hour riot that took place on January 6th, which was largely filled with Antifa and federal agents. Cash said 250 FBI agents were there. His words, not mine. But they were there doing riot control in plainclothes uniforms and cheering on others to go into the building, not stopping them at all. Controlling the riot, sure, into the Capitol. And we got billions of dollars passed by the federal government in order to attack them, FBI raids all across the country, seditious conspiracy charges for dozens of people, solitary confinement, and a whole of government response. And now we got press releases from Mark Wayne Mullen and some interviews on Fox News.
And DHS posted a list of some of the people they have arrested in New Jersey. Take a look at this list right here. Some pretty heinous crimes here. Jose de la Olanes, wanted for homicide. Another one, sex offense against a child. Another one, enticement of a minor for indecent purposes. Another, sexual assault and resisting arrest. Another, homicide. Jonathan, these are the people that these sanctuary politicians and these activists out there are protecting.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's a whole thing about these sanctuary cities. They protect the criminals, keeping them in the community because they operate in jails to keep convicted and arrested criminals from being turned over to ICE.
And DHS posted a list of some of the...
Yeah, we know all of that. Now, this fella called C-Fan Kim is on scene. ABC News, he just posted this 1 hour ago, so this is fresh out of the oven. He's saying maybe things are getting a little bit more aggressive tonight. 1 hour ago, just released from Delaney Hall. Play, please.
Have stood face to face up against a line of ICE agents. No pepper spray or rubber bullets deployed today, but batons have been...
Oh, rather, no pepper spray or bullets.
Well, Mike, all day long, demonstrators have stood face to face up against a line of ICE agents. No pepper spray or rubber bullets deployed today, but batons have been at the ready, and tensions have been simmering. From chaos outside Delaney Hall yesterday, with pepper spray and rubber bullets launched at demonstrators.
Multiple day attack.
A human chain blocking vehicles from leaving the ICE detention center in Newark. Heavily armored military vehicles back on the perimeter today, with federal agents removing makeshift barricades and protesters setting them back up and standing in the path of transport vans. In solidarity, they say, with hundreds of detainees staging a hunger strike since Friday, alleging inhumane conditions.
They're given rotten, frozen food, or in the case of last week, they found live worms in their food.
Oh, wow. Oh, no.
We're also here.
Well, they can just get deported. Why are they contesting their deportation? Go home. I'm sure they have a lot of papooses down there with Kilmar's family.
Hearing of people being denied toilet paper.
And anybody can just make that claim. How can you validate that? Government says no. All of them say, well, I didn't really like my bread. It was stale today.
Several have told me that they are being threatened with retaliation, saying that if you continue with this protest, we will transfer you, we will cut back on, cut off visitation rights from family.
Senator Andy Kim hit with pepper spray yesterday as he says he was trying to de-escalate a confrontation moments after he concluded a congressional oversight visit inside Delaney Hall.
My throat's burning, my eyes are burning.
Wow.
But again, it's not about me.
A DHS spokesperson says no individuals were directly struck by pepper ball projectiles. Rioters obstructed law enforcement from exiting the ICE facility. Protesters say they are blocking vehicles from leaving so that loved ones outside can see if relatives are being transferred from here.
This type of facility shows exactly why we should not have private mass detention facilities.
Governor Mikey Sherrill denied access yesterday, DHS Secretary Mullen calling her visit nothing more than a political stunt. The governor today asking, what is DHS hiding?
You know, they wouldn't let me in there. Gives you
Illegal aliens.
some sense that there is some there.
Now back here live, Congressmember Rob Menendez, by the way, was granted access today. He points out that detainees he met with have no criminal record. Includes a pregnant woman, an 18-year-old missing her graduation, people married to U.S. citizens, or parents of U.S. citizens. DHS denies inhumane conditions. Reporting live in Newark, Stefan Kim.
Yeah. Illegal means illegal. It doesn't mean illegal, but you have all these extenuating circumstances. So this is what it looks like. It's an organized insurgency. They are insurrectionists. We know that no one's above the law. We lived through 4 years of that dumpster. And now the inverse type of enforcement is not being deployed on these people. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a election year situation or what the ultimate decision is, but it looks pathetic. And quite frankly, it's going to spread. There's going to be a lot more of this. They got away with it in Minneapolis and Minnesota. They marched the feds out of there. They're going to do it again here. The tactics continue because they're winning and they're stopping and delaying the enforcement and the removal of people who shouldn't be here legally. Whatever the extenuating circumstances are, they could have made those arguments in immigration court. Maybe they did, maybe they lost, maybe they were here for a long time and they never did. That's their problem. But law and order are returning, hopefully. And we'll see if Mark Wayne Mullen can understand the time that we're in or if he's just going to delay this until the elections are over. We'll see. We'll keep our eye on it. Thank you for joining us and subscribing as we do. All right. It's been a beautiful stream, my friends. Thank you for joining us on this day. Texas polls are closing soon. Moments away, says CNN. We'll see if we have any returns here tonight. If you're in line, stay in line. Don't get out of line. Make sure you're voting for somebody you really like. Named Ken Paxton. Let's see who's here and joining us on the day. What a beautiful Tuesday it is. Thank you for joining us as we kick off the week strong. It is a lovely day. We've got some donos, friends. Thank you for sending these in and for joining us on this evening. New membos, too. We had a great members only stream today. Hey, what's up? That's Clarence Thomas. Poof, deal with it. Clarence Thomas. Deep voice. Hey, Great Eagle 1. Rob, English is not a requirement to be in USA for all illegals here. For all illegal. No, it's not a requirement. Maybe it should be. And we don't do any of this press 8 to speak whatever. You know what I mean? You kind of add some friction into the entire equation and they can go home if they want to speak their foreign language. But I think what we're talking about here, Great Eagle 1, are CDL licenses. You got to speak English to read the street signs. That's a problem. If you can't do that, you hang U-turns where it says don't hang U-turns. And you kill people. So it's part of the law. It's part of federal regs. Speak English. They tested them in California and Washington. The guy failed 10 times in Washington. And they still said, close enough. Más o menos. Here you go. Great Eagle 1, thanks for the dono. Hey, Cardinal O'Flanagan is here. DUI, revoked driver's license, no worries. Yeah, Kilmar was driving on a suspended license, no insurance. And it's not even his vehicle. No proof of registration, I would imagine, too. That's okay. You can go on and continue to drive with 8 other illegal aliens in the back of your car. No worries. California is here for you. Just get a CDL. You can't drive a car, but a fully loaded semi? No worries at all. Have a nice trip. And it's, why are they doing that? Why don't they? Is it just cheap money? Is it cheap labor? We know the Democrats want cheap votes. Republicans, not Republicans, the general Republican Party, but the Cornyn's and the Thunes and the McConnells and the Langfords want cheap labor for their business interests. And so it just continues on and on. And nobody really wants an American population that demands excellence out of our government, because that's a lot of work. They have to balance a budget. They have to do things. They'd rather just inflate the money, take that money, funnel it to the new constituency that's coming in, and then make ads in Spanish like John Cornyn did for them, and, you know, just give to them. Great Eagle 1. So all U.S. street and highway signs has to be changed to all languages now because illegals cannot read U.S. English in all 50 states here? Exclamation, 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 exclamation. Well, that's how it is in some spots. I think in California, you go there and you want to go vote. It's like 50 languages. It's like, okay. So this is like Tower of Babel crap, right? Where nobody can speak English. Everybody is all in different languages, and it disorients the body politic. Nobody can be on the same page because nobody can validate what it says. And your culture gets shattered. The water cooler concept of everybody huddling around the water cooler to talk about the show. It's English. We communicate in English. We talk about these issues in English. It's part of our culture. Constitution is in English. It's good for you to learn it so you know what your rights are. But how many people, like Kilmar, they said he was a Maryland man, can't even say Maryland man, doesn't speak English, needs a translator because he's not a Maryland man. He's a El Salvadorian man. Oh, it's infuriating. Cardinal O'Flanagan. Hey, 16 months, Cardinal. Thank you for being here. 16 amazing months together. Almost 2 babies. Be judges, not activists. Thank you, Uncle Sam and SCOTUS. Nice. Yeah, that would be nice if the judges just applied the law, let's say. We don't even want them to interpret it because they pervert it in their interpretations. Cardinal, thank you for that. We got Tim Jake. What's up? 10 new membos coming in. Thank you, Tim Jake. We had a good membo stream today. And I think we got a segment on this morning's stream coming out as soon as we're done here. The gentleman who ran the Trump house died last night. You may have missed that. We covered that story. We got some of the body cam or some of the surveillance cam in there, not of the actual attack, but we got a segment on that one coming out. Sponsored segment coming out after we're done here. So check that out if you're interested in that story. But Tim Jake, we had a great members only stream as well. Ja, what's up? Got a membo. I Rule, what's up? Gonza Log, what's up? Patricia Ramsey, we got Teacher Caliente, Gamer Fan, Digna M. Diaz, welcome. Paul's here. Bat Fricker in the house. Shearer joining us, and Blacks Who Defy. Blacks Who Defy? What's up, Blacks Who Defy? In the house, man. Gifted a membo. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. We appreciate you sticking around. Yeah. Sharon was the guy's name, right? Carrie Sharon died, man. Brutal attack. We didn't play the image in that video, but I saw the hospital bed video. It was rough. Or not video, image. It was rough. And apparently it was by a registered Democrat. I know, shocking. Hey, Michelle Parsons, what's up? 27 months as a membo. The slap heard around the world by the Supreme Court. It was great. It makes me so happy when other judges get backhanded by the Supreme Court. Once again, let's just read that one more time. We got some time as we wait for the polls to close. One more time. Was it in this one? Yeah, it wasn't here, but not there. Down here, right? This big, beautiful sentence right here. The fourth, this is Judge Clarence Thomas writing here. The Fourth Circuit's analysis bears little resemblance to legal interpretation. You guys are dum-dums, is what that sentence translates to. You didn't even do anything. It's like that Billy Madison quote. That answer in no way resembled any intelligent thought whatsoever. We are all now dumber for having listened to your response. Billy Madison. Okay, a simple wrong would have done. All right. Fourth Circuit just got Billy Madison. Nice. So, all right, good stuff there. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for being here for 27 months. Pretty sure that's 3 babies. Not positive, though. Hey, thank you, Great Eagle One. Somali Ilhan Omar just took over a U.S. Senate seat, now says it all here by fraud. Well, I don't think she's not running for Senate right now, right? I don't think so. But, I mean, the more Somalians that come into Minnesota, the more likely that becomes, which would be a disaster. Thank you, Great Eagle One. Bodie. Hey, Rob, I want to add some Eric's House pamphlets or signage to our CR table. How can I get some? Man, first of all, Bodie, thank you for even thinking about that. Let me send you to my mama. Probably a good place to go. I would say email Marianne at ericshouse.org if you have a pen. Marianne, Marianne at ericshouse.org. Send her an email. Say, your son, your boy, said, send me some pamphlets, Mama G. And they should do that. They got a bunch of good stuff. To your CR table. What is that, Bodie? How can I get some? They'll send you some, no doubt. And then she'll probably forward that over. I'm not exactly sure who she'll forward it to. But we'll get you some pamphlets. And thank you for even thinking about Eric's House. ericshouse.org. If you've lost or know somebody who's lost a loved one due to suicide, overdose, or tragic death, that's what they help with. And there's a lot of it, man, unfortunately. And they help. Chat with me. Rob, here's your pupusa recipe. Oh, gosh. I don't know if I want to click this one. You know, there's a pupusa restaurant in D.C. I swear. We were almost going to go to it. It was like, I can't wait to tell everybody about this place. Okay, this looks pretty good. Pupusas? Okay, I'm just validating this is what it is. All right, it's a whole pupusa recipe. Okay. Interesting. Okay, this is not Kilmar Abrego. This is Jose El Cook making pupusas. We got some time. We're waiting for the polls to close, so we're just kind of hanging out right now. So let's see what else we got cooking. Thank you for that. Chat with me. I'm not interested in pupusas after what Kilmar has done to our country. No more pupusas for me. Hey, Cliff Meggs, what's up? Rob, did you enjoy the Bible Museum yesterday? Yeah, when did we go? Was that Sunday? Yeah, I think we went on Sunday. Yesterday, we went to the Memorial Day Parade, which was also awesome. What was the most important thing you learned? Would you recommend a visit? Oh, man. Yes, I would definitely recommend a visit. It's huge. It's big. We did not get to see everything that we wanted. I could spend days in there, literally days. But the thing that most stood out to me were the Dead Sea Scrolls. They had, I would say, maybe 8 different excerpts from the Dead Sea Scrolls. Wild. I really didn't know much about them at all. So I learned, I would say that they are basically the oldest excerpts of Scripture, the copies of Scripture that we have that have made their way into the Bible and some not into the Bible. I think they had one excerpt from the book of Enoch talking about giants and things like that. But you get down in there and you look at them. I took a picture of one and can't really use flash or anything like that. But they had these things out there, these clips of the Dead Sea Scrolls from like 2,300 years old, written on these leather pieces that were various parts of Scripture that validate the Scripture that we still read today. Wild. And where are my photos? Absolutely wild. And in 6 minutes, the polls close. So we'll see what the results are. I'm sure Paxton's going to be doing well. But here, let me get you a photo of one of these. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. I think this was the oldest one. And it's, it's hard to really communicate what this thing is. But here's what it looks like. Okay, so that is like a 2,300-year-old sea scroll. They found these things in a cave in the 1940s. And apparently somebody threw a rock into a cave and there's writing on there. and I forget which one this was, but you could just, there's like an energy around them, and you can zoom in on it, and it looked like it was written on this leather, very well preserved. They were all rolled up, ancient. And I think that when I see stuff like that, my first question is, what are we being shown? And my second question is, what are we not being shown? Okay, so all of these things got categorized. And I think one of the most interesting things that we learned was like the day that they were discovered, or like right around the same time that they were discovered, the UN voted like that same day or same week in order to take jurisdiction over the areas like, you know, Israel and Palestine. I think it was right around that same time they voted to establish jurisdiction. So like it was a big, big deal at a global level. And so I wonder, of course, like everything, you know, they show you certain things and then, oh yeah, we chronicled everything. But I always wonder, what are they not showing us? What did they say? Oh no, that's some guy's poetry, so we're just going to leave that out. Or oh no, that's another, you know, book that's not canon, so we'll just leave that out. And it's like, okay, it's very curious. And then certain governments come in and take control and archive things, and very, very interesting. But you could just feel like a vibe. You look at these ancient documents, you're like, man, this is wild. So I would say I have a lot more to learn about those. We were kind of flying through there because, well, we had a stream to do here, and we were kind of close. We actually went to the art museum first that day, which was also amazing. And yeah, did they throw out the Trump scrolls? All the Trump votes? All the conservative scrolls? They threw them out? Yeah, that's my question. But I'm, you know, kind of a skeptic about these things. But I just think that governments have a tendency to, you know, hold things in reserve. And there's a pretty interesting kind of conspiracy theory around that. Like the Smithsonian is actually a body that gobbles up, you know, all of the secrets of the world, like the you know, David versus Goliath, like a giant's femur bone might be on you know, in the Smithsonian's collection somewhere, but they're not going to show that one to you. I like that one a lot. It's pretty fun. All right. So the Smithsonian, in other words, is like this big, you know, vacuum cleaner that sucks up all these things. And then you only see what they want you to see. So I'm like, all right. Every time I go into one of these museums, I'm like, all right, where's the good stuff? So, but that's just me. You know, I'm kind of a skeptic in that regard. Hey, baby Lewis, but it was an amazing experience. So Cliff, if you're ever in DC, I would highly recommend it. And we're in a zip code, we get free admission. I don't know why, but we get free admission. So we're going to go check it out a bunch, and it's going to be great. I'm going to learn a lot. You can learn a lot very quickly, I think, in those places. But I got to focus on it, you know. Baby Lewis, rock on JD, rock on Stephen, and Todd. Shout out. Yeah, that was a great fraud hearing today. JD Vance and the rest of the crew were there, and they're going after it, man. And what was the guy's name? Not that guy. This guy, Colin McDonald, CM as well. We got to add CM to that list. JD, Stephen, and Todd Blanche, and CM. Colin McDonald. Awesome. Thank you, baby Lewis. Gauntlet KI. All right, polls closing on Fox News in 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Hopefully, Paxton comes out with a big drop. Cliff Meggs, are there any cases challenging sanctuary cities under the Constitution, especially the Supremacy Clause? If not, what does it take for something so obviously unconstitutional? DOJ action, Tom Homan to arrest a mayor or governor for obstruction. Yeah, well, it's actually kind of built into the Constitution, right? We have a system called federalism. So we've got the federal government and state governments. And so the 10th Amendment, you know, this has been perverted, obviously, but anything that is not granted to the federal government is exclusively reserved to the states. It's by design, right? It's a check and balance. We're not all one big top-down federal bureaucracy. So there's a tension there. And so that's why we really fight these things out kind of case by case. Like, for example, in the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Act, we have a battle over the Supremacy Clause and whether California, and the Supreme Court just said, we're not going to let you sue on this. So Florida, get the hell out of here. So do states have to comply with even the English proficiency requirement? In order to comply with federal law, California and Washington say, no, we don't want to. And the Supreme Court just said, okay. So we have certain protections built in so that we don't have a top-down tyranny. Like if, the federal government becomes tyrannical, you might want to move to Texas that says we have guns and we're not going to accept that. And there's this natural tension. It's back and forth and it's difficult. Now, the way that a lot of this has been organized is we've got like the Commerce Clause, which was, big and perverted. They said basically anything that's in commerce, even if you make a widget in your state and you never want that widget to leave your state, you never sell your widget out of state. If your widget enters into interstate commerce because somebody else does something with it, then you're still in interstate commerce. And so Congress can now regulate you according to the federal constitution, like stuff like that. But we don't want actually it to be too top down. The other mechanism is by the power of the purse. So like, if you want that big fat interstate highway grant that the federal government will pass and give to you, you'll raise your speed limits up and follow interstate guidelines for highways. If you don't have to do this. We're not going to force you to do it, but you have to pay taxes. Thank you, 16th Amendment. And then we'll give you some of that money back, but you got to do these things. So attaching strings to the purse, perfectly allowed. So that's how you kind of cajole the states into compliance. But otherwise, yeah, they can be sanctuaries. Again, we fight this in multiple ways, but again, I think, defunding them would be another good way to start. No more money, no hospice money, no SNAP benefits. And we're seeing a lot of that kind of play out. Like J.D. Vance and Oz, I think, suspended a bunch of the Medicaid money because it was going to illegals in Minnesota, or at least pausing it, suspending it, and they'll turn it back on. But that's the problem. And I think that, if there are co-conspirators in criminal fraud, like if Tim Walz and Keith Ellison in Minnesota are contributing to the fraud, then you just charge them with standard crimes. It doesn't need to necessarily be related to sanctuary policies, but it's a conspiracy in that they're committing fraud and exploiting government resources. So we got Will Crump. Listen to how tastefully the dissent is worded. None of the hysterical screeching, ... wait for it, that you hear from Ketanji, like she's writing a Substack post. Yeah, from Will. Thank you, Will Crump. Kagan, Sotomayor, Jackson. Kagan, I think, is an intelligent person. Sotomayor is like middle of the pack. Jackson, it's a whole different ball game. She writes Substack articles because she really wants to win a Grammy on the stage in Broadway. Dark Rogue, what's up? Why are the concurrent judges in SCOTUS? Do they not know that SCOTUS is the only court in the land to settle state disputes? I learned that in high school. Right. I know it's pretty clear in the Constitution. So, yeah, that's funny, Dark Rogue. There was no other explanation. So where were they? I don't know. Motion for leave to file a bill of complaint is denied. Nothing from Amy, nothing from Gorsuch, nothing from Kavanaugh. Nothing. Oh, dang, son. We got some results coming in. And that was a hilarious thing, by the way. I was at the Museum of the Bible while I'm pulling these results up. And I was working through the lady who was helping us get tickets. And so she's like, well, I got 3 people here. We've got, me and my wife, we live here. My mother-in-law's in town, and they weren't with me. They were like off. And then she says, oh, okay, that's great. So like, do you want independent tickets? I said, yeah. She says, well, why don't you and your wife become a member? Then you can bring a guest. It'll be half price on these other things. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. Working through it. And then she's an African-American woman, and she's, got a particular accent. And then we get through it. She starts entering my information. What's your name? What's your address? What's going on? What's happening here? And she goes, okay, what's your zip code? And I say zip code. And she goes, son. And she pulls up this thing. She goes, you get in for free. And I was like, you're amazing. I love you so much. But she just popped it out. She's like, son. like looked at me like disappointed, like, you don't know this? It was hilarious. She was awesome, and shout out to her, but it was just funny. I wasn't used to, it was like out of nowhere. Son, like I kind of wasted her time. You know what it means. It's got a very particular meaning, but she was right. I deserved it. So anyways, we got some results in. Ooh, look at this one. So Texas Senate, let's pull these up. It's looking good. Primary results. And here is what we've got. Yeah. Hey, what's up? Ken Paxton, 61 to 38. Cornyn getting blown out. 8% in, but man, we think that's going to hold. So 61 to 38%. And that's great news. Yeah, let's go check Kalshi while we're here and see what this one says. And then we'll make sure we grab your comments, and then we'll wrap on the night. Kalshi, probably going to like 100, right? 95%. We checked it this morning on the members only stream. Here it is. Now that some results have dropped, let's see where it's going. 99. Yeah, that hit hard. Yeah, so here it is over here. 99.8. So that first batch, everyone goes, okay, it's in the bag. Bye-bye, John Cornyn. John could have done something useful, but he didn't. And so now he's leaving, and he deserves it. Thank you, Dark Rogue. Yeah, and the state disputes, I don't know why they don't want to hear these cases. Maybe it's just too controversial for them, so they'd rather just have California sanctuary states continue to spread around their murderous illegal aliens. Gauntlet KI, what's up? If SCOTUS judges denies state versus state, impeach. We got 7 of them to impeach. And they didn't even explain themselves. So we don't even know why. Why are the concurrent judges in SCOTUS? Or maybe where are the concurrent judges? Didn't even say anything. Nowhere to be found. Just denied. That's it. Move on. Thank you, Dark Rogue, for the nice dono. Hey, what's up, Gauntlet? America's Untold Stories. Hey, America's Untold Stories. Thanks for rating our stream over on Rumble. Shout out to America's Untold Stories friends. Chip Roy's losing right now. Middleton is ahead of him. CNN has Paxton 58 to 41. He's up. Same thing being reported on Fox News. Same thing on MS Now across the board. So that's looking good. No one's called it yet. Will Crump, why allowed? Cowardly DOJ, terrified of bad optics? Exclamation. Yeah. I think so. Mark Wayne's coming in, doing like a whole new, vibe. And it's election season. So I think that's probably everything we need to know. Hey, Marcia Levine. What's up, Marcia Levine? It seems to me that Florida's only option concerning California's disregard for federal CDL licensing regs would be to disregard interstate reciprocity and to reject the validity of all CDLs issued by California. Yeah, Marcia, such a good comment. And back to our prior conversation about power of the purse and purse strings. I don't know what that would do, what the consequences of that would be, but there is an interstate compact traditionally. So your licenses are valid. You get points in one license. Generally, they're honored in another state. If you get a DUI in one state, it transfers to other states. Like there's a reciprocity there. Can they just exit out of this one area, like CDLs, or pass additional regulations, maybe at ports of entry, like in Florida? Like at a port of entry, you come in. If you have a California or Washington CDL, you go to secondary check automatically, and we validate that you comply with federal law. If you don't, we send you home. Something like that, But it is interesting, and I wonder what Florida will do in the aftermath of that. We'll keep our eye on it for sure. Thank you for the nice dono, Marcia, and the great question. It will be curious. And Florida's clever, so who knows? They may try something. Sev Russ, I'm curious about the verbiage you use off air Would love to be a fly on that wall. You mean like, do I drop F-bombs and F&As and mother sons of bees and all the things? No, it's the same, I would say. What you see is what you get here. I'm basically the same person off camera with a little, I would say, less energy, you know? We get in here, man, I get riled up, I get fired up. We get into these, I'm like, rah! When I'm sitting down for dinner with Alexis, I'm not normally like, these friggin' judges! You know, she hears enough of that from upstairs. So, you know, but it's the same, you know, I can't hide it. It is what it is. Thank you, Seth Ross. I appreciate it. Hey, what's up? King of Biltong is here. Get your Biltong at BiltongUSA.com. Code Robert. You'll save some 10% off of your delicious meats. Turn up the flavor, mild heat, big flavor, and more. All at BiltongUSA.com. Code Robert. Sharpie guy. You know, this might sound gross, Rob, but a lot of them look like born criminals. Or maybe not born. I think, you know, born is one thing, but they may have adopted the criminal lifestyle, right? People who are kind of hardened up through multiple assaults and robberies usually have some physical injuries. Drugs can change a person's face completely. So we saw a lot of cocaine and meth crimes in there. They're probably not just selling it, also using it. That kind of changes how you look. But yeah, I see what you're saying. They have a criminal perception to them, no doubt. Watchers, armor up. We need to protect ourselves, right, Rob? Always. 100% always. And it's your God-given right to do it. And fortunately, our founders put that in our Constitution. So definitely. Thank you, Sharpie guy. Hey, Gary Herman. Rob, what's going on in Alabama? Yeah, it's fresh out of the oven, this one. So we'll probably cover this tomorrow. So a district court said that Alabama's map was racist. And this is different than Calais, saying, in other words, that there was no political justification for their new map. So they reverted it back to a different map. Alabama has filed a notice of appeal on that case, saying they're taking it up to SCOTUS in light of Calais. And I have not seen the docket populated yet with Alabama's petition. And so I'm waiting for that to bake a little bit more. It is fresh out of the oven. We were going to talk about that today, but it hasn't, I think, percolated enough. And the dough hasn't risen, as it were, in the Supreme Court yet. That might have changed since we've been live here. But Alabama wanted to change their map. Lower level court said, you can't change your map. It's racist. They said it's not racist. There's a political justification for it. My understanding, I haven't looked too deeply into it. And so we're going to appeal the denial of the more red map. And we're going to take that up to SCOTUS. Now, their lower decision said our ruling still stands in spite of Calais. Remember that Calais still said that you can't draw racist maps. If there's a political justification for the map, you can use that. But if the map is overtly racist, so they were drawing overtly racist maps. They were saying that you have to draw a majority minority district in order to put all black people together. And then we're not racist because we're putting everybody together of the same color. That's not racist at all, because they need help. It's like separate but equal. It's like the most racist thing you can think about, but they were using race to justify the new maps. Still though, so that's illegal. Can't do that because that's literally cordoning off people by race, which is what the 15th Amendment prohibits. But if you draw a map that is racist purely on the basis of race, that has no, it works the other way as well. Like if you draw, like a whites only map and you can't come up with a political justification for that either way, then that can also be challenged. And so racism still comes into the equation, but it's not used as a sword, essentially, like it used to be. So I think the lower level ruling in Alabama was saying that the new maps are in fact racist without any political intertwining. So you can't, and if there is both things, like one person's alleging politics, the other is alleging partisanship, partisan maps are perfectly allowed, then the partisan maps need to be disentangled from the racist claims. One party saying racist, the other party is saying partisan. You got to flesh that out. And so I think the ruling at the lower level in Alabama was that the old maps still stand because that had not been proven, hadn't been sufficiently partisan enough to justify the map. Now they're saying it's perfectly partisan. So it's going to go up to the Supreme Court. They did file their notice of the fact that they're going to appeal, but I have not seen that ultimately hit the Supreme Court docket yet. So once it hits, and it should hit soon, like I expect it to hit tomorrow. And then there were some other ones. Louisiana, I think, moved forward. That was last week. They moved forward with a good update on their maps. South Carolina just whined out today on their map, so they're not doing anything, losers. And Alabama will be fighting. And I haven't read deep enough into the decision to see whether or not it will stand or not, but we'll come back on that probably tomorrow. There was a bunch of Supreme Court stuff today I wanted to make sure we got to. Slimmer Stubby. In Newark, I'll take things that never happened and crazed, moronic, and mentally unstable leftists made up for $500, Alex. Yeah. I was trying to think of a good Jeopardy. How does it work? Answer, your daily double. Who is an unhinged senator? Andy Kim. I don't know if that works. I don't really play a lot of Jeopardy. Hey, thank you, Slimmer Stubby. Good to see you, my man. Hopefully those LBs keep coming off there. Cliff Meggs. Hey, just checking to see if Barnes and Barris have Cornyn up by 1 point. Oh, Cliff. Paxton is expected to win by 7 points. That's a dig at Barnes and Barris. Shout out to those guys. You can't be right all the time, you know? So shout out to those guys. Hey, what's going on, Cliff? Thank you for the funny comment, Cliff Meggs. And shout out to those guys. Rub some dirt on it. I did my part to send Cornyn in his way. Thank you, rub some dirt on it. Adios, John Cornyn. And he's out of there. Let's go back. Check the numbers. Woo! Look at that. 19% now in, 61 to 38. Yeah, he's out of here. I wonder if anybody will call it. Probably won't be a while. It's, going to be millions of votes coming in, but not looking good for old Johnny boy out there. Thank you for that. Rub some dirt on it. Way to go. We got Jeffrey Davison. Hey, 5-year anniversary with watchers in 3 weeks, 60 months. Jeffrey Davison, man, that's a long time. Thank you for being here. That's like almost the beginning. That's amazing. Thank you, Jeffrey Davison. You're amazing. You rock. Thanks for being here. We have grandkids, Rob. We do. They had him young. Thanks for being here, Jeffrey. Amazing. Really appreciate all your support. We've been through some stuff together. So hopefully we got many more to come. Thanks for tolerating me for all these years. Lots changed. Chat with me. My last comment was supposed to contain a tip. Oh, here it is. Hey, thank you, Chat with me. Rob, you and Alexis need to travel down to Kentucky and go to the Ark and the Creation Museum. Also, I have friends who are archaeologists and a group who run Appian Media, and you might enjoy their videos on YouTube on the Bible lands, following the Messiah and Trial and Triumph, the Churches of Revelation. Heck yeah. Yeah, it's so deep. The Bible and the history of the Bible and the history of the time and the culture. It's so deep. You go into the Museum of the Bible and it's like 5-6 stories of just, I saw Trump's Bible. I don't think I took a picture of it, but it was on loan from Trump. It was there. Looked pretty worn out too. And got some use out of that thing. So chat with me. Thank you for the dono and for the recommendation. We may take you up on that. I mean, we'd love to travel around and go check these places out. 100%. Thank you, chat with me. We appreciate that. We'll come back on that one. Rob, part of canonization of a book is, did it regularly circulate with all the other books where they are found? It also requires to be related to the covenant, like the Old Testament and Hebrew scriptures. Yeah. Yeah, and like the Catholic Church and other, Protestants and others have included and excluded certain books based on what is canon. I guess my point was, I'm curious if there's anything, that maybe should be part of canon or should be part of the story that wasn't. Like, oh no, this one's good. This one's good. This one's good. This one, he was drunk. Okay, put that one over here. Okay, this one's good. This one's good. Stuff like that. And maybe he was drunk, but I kind of want to see it, Hey, Kevlar, it's still pretty bad that over 30% of the country is restarting themselves. Well, I think I've seen huge parts of the country, like the younger generations, cannot read. What is the number of that? Like read at a 6th grade level or something? Oh, it's not good, man. It's not good for our society if that's true. Hey, thanks for the dono, Kevlar. Jonathan Marcus, what's up? Welcome aboard. Jonathan Marcus in the house. Thank you for being a dono and a new membo in the house. We got Bodie. CR equals celebrate recovery. Awesome, Bodie. So hopefully you got my message. Yeah, send an email. Just send an email to my mama right now, or send an email to me, Robert at Spotlight Lawyer, and I'll forward it over to her. But we'll get you some good stuff, no doubt. And thanks for thinking about Eric's house. Celebrate recovery, man. Amazing. Rob, we do great with John Kennedy, Republican from Louisiana, Senate leader. Mike Johnson, Republican from Louisiana, speaker. He's already that. Steve Scalise, Louisiana House Majority Leader. And isn't he already that? Yeah, LA has a trifecta. So you just need to get rid of John Thune and put Kennedy in there. I could see it. Hey, thanks for the dono, Rob. DP Jordan 5749. 2 years next month. Man, DP Jordan. Yeah, that's a long time too. A lot is happening. Thank you, DP Jordan. Hopefully you've enjoyed being a membo. Thanks for continuing to be a membo for so long. We have a lot of fun with our members only community. And Nacho Mama, you too. 21 months. We all have anniversaries. LOL. Man, thank you for being here. 21 months. Yeah, we do member streams in the mornings. We do Saturday shows. And we really appreciate our membos. We have a good time. So thank you, Nacho Mama. Thank you, DP Jordan. We appreciate you both. Thank you for being here. We'll see you in the morning. Jim tells you, doing some more election coverage. Let's see if we got anything else. Now 25% in. The margins are holding. The rest of the state is filling in red and not looking good for Cornyn. Still haven't called that one. But let's see what other races we've got. So here, let's see. Okay, Middleton is beating Chip Roy. Wow, that's pretty interesting. So Paxton's ahead of Cornyn. Mays Middleton beating Chip Roy. 11 points, 55-47. On the Democrat side, no votes in on District 35. Colin Allred looks like he's going to beat Julie Johnson. We remember him running for the House. Al Green. Oh, that guy. No votes in on that one. And that's all out of Texas. What other states are out there right now? Let's see. Michael Whatley. Looks like they got him confirmed for whatever race that is. Why is my screen so? Let's do this. There it is. Michael Whatley for the Senate wins the Republican primary. Shelley Moore Caputo, incumbent, back. John Husted, incumbent, uncontested. He's there. Andy Barr is ahead of Daniel Cameron in the runoff. Out of Kentucky. And I think Cameron was the guy that McConnell wanted at one point, but I think they're both kind of under his wing. Don Tracy's ahead. 92,000 votes. Paxton is still up 120,000. That's big. Pete Ricketts, confirmed, coming back in the Senate. 81% of the vote in there. Tom Cotton, he's also back, confirmed as the winner of the evening. Cindy Hyde-Smith, incumbent. She's going back to the Senate. We got Julia Letlow. It's pretty tight. It's not that tight, I would say. Not that tight. 44-28. John Fleming versus Julia Letlow. And that's after Bill Cassidy already lost. Remember that one? Or no, wait, that one was on May 17th. That was a couple weeks ago, so that's old. Dave Smith, 29-27 against Joe Ray Perkins up there in Oregon. Idaho has Jim Risch, the incumbent. Looks like he's going back. So Texas, I think, was the real big one today. And it looks like Ken Paxton is going to win that pretty handily. And Chip Roy, I think some people were really pulling for him. And I didn't know much about the other guy, Mays Middleton, but he looks like he's pulling ahead, actually. 33%. It was 11 points, I think. Now it's up. Al Green is getting blown out. Democrat. Christian Menifee beating him 63-37. Colin Allred is still on top. And interesting about Chip Roy. Yeah, very interesting. All right. So, my friends, it has been a lovely and a beautiful stream tonight. Thank you for hanging with us a little extra longer as we cover some of the election stuff and things. We got a couple of comments on the locals. Mr. Balloon Haynes, it looks like a spicy Tuesday. Spicy afuera Tuesday. Spud says, quoting the DOT website, states cannot issue a CDL that bypasses federal hazards or weight thresholds, but they can make their own endorsement requirements over from the DOT so that they can allow people who can't speak English to drive across the interstates. Great. Hey, Turbo. The Supreme Court's unwillingness to take up the dispute will result in Florida barring California, New York, and Washington from lawfully driving on their roads without stopping first at a weigh station and receiving a CDL endorsement. They want states to behave like countries. If they do, this is what will happen. California and other states will have no way to take Florida to court. Yeah, at various ports of entry, just say, we don't trust you on our roads. I like it. Yeah, stop at a port of entry, get an additional endorsement. Otherwise, turn around and go home. And that'll make the cost of business much higher for anyone who wants to ship into Florida. So maybe the companies will regulate themselves. Reladella, the states need laws that any undocumented migrant unable to speak English who is caught driving a truck in their state will automatically serve 2 years in jail. Woo, Rella. That would solve that problem, huh? Thank you, Reladella, for that. Cliff Meggs, Middleton is our neighbor in Seabrook, Texas. Middleton? Who's running? Man, that's amazing. Your neighbor is going to be going to Congress? Or no, AG? Amazing. So good stuff. All right, friends, let's see if we got anything else on X, and then we'll close it out for the day. And then, of course, we're going to come back tomorrow, and it's going to be another beautiful stream. So hopefully you can join us. Let's see. A couple of comments on X. Neuro D, thank you for linking to our watchingthewatchers.locals.com community, where we have an amazing community. B Torn, what's up? Talking Alabama, which will come back on tomorrow. Thank you, B Torn. Oh, here's Clarence Thomas with the laser eyes. Hitting the fourth circuit with the laser beams. Man, he's so cool. Hey, John Whitley. A big thank you to my fellow brothers and sisters whom I serve with before and after, and especially to those that had a loved one give the ultimate sacrifice. I'm humbled by you who stand holding their memory, their legacy, and their bloodlines. Man, John, thank you for that. So am I. Thanks for saying that out. Hey, TJ King. More Bergdorfing Fannie Willis style in Atlanta. Awesome. John Whitley. Some more honors. And Mike. The problem is they will let family in, but not Democrat dog and pony shows. Oh, from Mike. Yeah, to the people who want to get into the facilities. Yeah. Nice. All right, so thanks for sending those comments in over on X. We've got Siggy USA. The ARC experience in Kentucky is super cool. Kentucky sounds great. Yeah, a lot of recommendations for Kentucky. That sounds awesome. Siggy USA, happy 3 years to us, my friend. That's a long time, my man. Siggy, or my madam, I guess. Hey, the ARC experience. Thank you for that. Yeah, we'll have to check that out too. Al Green is gone? Amazing. So he just got blown out? That's pretty wild. He's the guy with the cane, right? Who screams at Trump during the State of the Union. They've had enough of that. Woo! He got blown out. 68-31. Wow. I'm pretty sure that's him, right? Let's see. Have a photo of this guy? Yeah, that's this guy. Texas. Even the Democrats had enough. Bye-bye, Al Green. All right. So, interesting stuff. Chip Roy still down 57-42. And as we close it out, 40% of the vote in. Paxton, 62-37. Looking very strong. Oh, they redistricted him? Well, bye. All right. So, friends, thank you once again for joining us. It has been a beautiful stream. Happy Tuesday. Hopefully your week is off to an amazing start. We're going to send you over, if you're on YouTube, to Jim Tells You, if you want to carry on with another amazing stream. And then, of course, let's do that right now. I think he's probably live. And then we'll come back tomorrow and we'll get into it again. But all right, so we'll pause here before we wrap. Big thank yous to our amazing mods and meme smiths. Thank you, John. Thank you, Muffin Rando. Thank you, Donut Mind Me. Thank you to K Bean, Carrie B. We got Neuro D, Janek, Dog Digger. We got Geegum Geegum, Elliot, and just Rhonda modding the fort down for us, keeping things nice and orderly around here. And thank you for subscribing to our channel if you have not already done that. Thanks for liking the video on the way out. And then thank you for returning tomorrow to get into it again. We'll have the segment, which does have a sponsor in there, just letting you know, on the man who died this morning. There's some interesting surveillance footage that we talked about. So if you're looking for something else to watch that you haven't seen yet today, that'll be back later tonight. I think we'll get that posted. Otherwise, my friends, it has been a real treat. As always, thank you for being here. Thanks for supporting our work. Thanks for everything that you do. And then, of course, thank you for coming back tomorrow to join us, because in order to do this appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night. Sleep very, very well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. Nothing to hide. So drop a like and don't forget to share, and bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see through the scripted ruse. Together we